welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I'm your host, Mike Vierman. I'm here with my friend and trusted producer, Max Kerman. We're here with our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham. We also have intern Erica working the dials. Guys, the first episode of 2020. We are in the roaring 20s, as people are calling it. We have all been apart for quite some time. It's nice to come back together and have all four of us in a room.
Whoa, they just brought pizza.
What? When I was getting to the office, I noticed a guy holding like 10 pizzas.
Do we go steal some pizza right now?
No
yeah,
way.
What's the etiquette?
I hate all that shit now.
It's 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple things. We want to, so off the top, we want to let you know this is going to be a long episode. This is going to be a big one. You're getting a supersized episode in 2020 because our friend Rob Loud, who is a tour photographer for The Killers.
And the Arkells.
And the Arkells, of course.
A little man called Arkells.
Yeah. Great.
We talked
man.
a lot about the Killers during this interview, but not so much on Arkells.
Well, not with it wasn't for lack of your effort of sliding in Arkells.
Yeah, I tried to get us to, to be peers with the Killers. But
So do we find out what, what's his name? Brandon Flowers is like?
Yeah, we cover some of that topic.
That's
So,
cool.
so the reason I bring that up is because Rob, who we're friends with and who has a very cool job, he came in because he was here over yesterday. Actually, it was Sunday, and we did some chatting. So we're going to get to that conversation later in the episode. But before we get to that, we got so much to catch up on.
But wait, is what triggered you to talk about that, the pizza, because you talked about Brandon's diet?
No.
Oh, you don't touch on his diet at all?
We didn't touch on Brandon's diet.
Oh.
He works out. He's very active. I know
Okay.
that. Like he's a very
But Rob did
busybody.
say that he mows pizza.
Yeah.
Like after the game.
Yeah.
Chows, mows, what's the word? Anyway, he loves his food, but he also just has a good kind of workout regimen as well.
Wow.
That's
Because I
what-
hear food is 90% of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. It feels like you've come into 2020 with some theories.
Well, it could be just because I went so overboard, ironically, knowing that I was going to be so good in 2020 and knowing that we had this challenge coming up.
Yes,
Yeah,
well, this is what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
We, as our listeners know, on our last sort of episode of the proper episode before we did our holiday year-end hot takes, we said we agreed we're going to do this challenge, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Did we bring a scale?
We did, yeah.
We did?
I got
I
it.
see Shane has a bag.
I don't always bring a bag.
Oh, crazy. And so basically we were all going to try to lose 8 pounds? Like what is
No.
what was
Not
it?
8 pounds. We're all going to try to get to a weight that we feel is our ideal weight.
Oh,
and everyone has a
interesting.
different version of what that is. But
okay.
It's funny. I was at seeing a lot of people, like family and stuff over Christmas, but several people had listened to that episode, the weight one, and everyone said the same thing. Max doesn't need to lose any weight. So I thought you'd like to hear that.
Oh,
And they
wow.
didn't mention me or you in that.
No, I found it very insulting to bring that up because you think your mom would say, "You don't need to lose anything." Yeah.
Mike could lose a couple. It's fair. It's fair. Okay, well, before we get to the weight loss challenge, which we'll do in a bit,
I'm
we're also
very excited about it.
We're also going to hit the globes. It's nice to be back, guys.
It's great.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah.
Hopefully, everyone listening enjoyed their holidays and did all sorts of great stuff. Shane and I both actually did some traveling, not together, separately.
Yeah.
I was in Ireland for a wedding, as you would know if you listened to the last episode, and Shane was in Florida.
Well, before that, I partied with Erica at the J.R. Diggs
Oh, the
concert.
Jared Diggs show, which was
Yeah.
a great event. We also had the Champagne Boys pub crawl. Like so much has happened in like a 10-day stretch that we can't possibly talk about it all. But the order of events is basically we recorded the last episode you heard, then we banged out 6 year-end holiday hot takes.
Which people really liked.
They were good. They were really good.
Yeah, the
Oh,
feedback
because
on
Erica
it
wasn't there,
good.
but you edited them all. So
Yeah,
you-
they were funny. They
Ah.
were quick. They were like no like meandering at all. They were good.
Yeah, and I feel like what?
Shane just gave it like
Why do I meander?
Because it insinuates that most of our episodes do have
Oh
meandering.
no, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, they
Well,
went
you
to the
know,
point.
there was no extra fat to trim.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
just perfect. It was good. They
Oh,
were-
as an editor.
it was very funny.
That's not a dig at me.
No.
Fat to trim looks at me.
So we recorded those, and then we went to our annual 12 Pubs of Christmas, where we march up and down Hamilton, James Street North, and the surrounding areas, and we do 12 bars at credit card roulette. It was amazing. Anything quick coming out of that?
Well, before that, though, I'll say that those 6 podcasts were basically a public service to the podcast community. I'm not kidding because
we set a template.
Well, because over the break, there's no podcast.
true.
Everybody goes on vacation.
I noticed that, too.
Yeah, my friend Matt Fruckman says it's the biggest form of anti-Semitism we have to worry about is that all the Christians that are on vacation
Shut it down.
shut it down.
No work gets done.
And no work gets done, and all of us Jews waiting for their next podcast to come out. You know,
I was just about to say that.
yeah. They
Well, because guess what?
What?
I'm I'm more than 4% Jewish.
Whoa! Did you do another?
I'm 7.6% Jewish. I did my spit.
Oh, amazing.
Wait,
Yeah.
who spit? Oh, you're
My sister had
Right.
her spit done.
I still don't
How are
understand
you
how
more
you and
Jewish than your sister?
have different
Apparently, it can be separated differently even between siblings.
like what you inherit DNA wise.
Right.
Okay.
And yeah, if you do your mom and your dad, like maybe it's just a cash grab to get everyone in the family to do it. That's what I was kind of suspicious about. But my sister represented my mom's side, I represent my dad's side, and now we have a full understanding of what percentages are split what. So there is no native in my blood, but I am more Jewish than I had thought
Wow,
previously.
this is great.
Yeah.
Now, do you like Uncut Gems even more?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
By
I
the way-
always love that movie.
Oh my God, I saw that movie. I wish I had seen that movie when we were doing the year-end movies, because that's my favorite movie of the year, I think.
Fascinating.
Oh, loved it so much. I highly recommend.
What about
everybody.
Honey Boy?
Loved Honey Boy too.
Yeah.
It was slightly less, but still very, very good. Yeah.
You
it was
went on a
amazing.
movie binge this
Oh,
holiday.
I watched so many movies. It was really good. But yeah, anybody who is interested in Adam Sandler and basketball and some Jewish stuff and just like a very like frenetic intense movie, go see Uncut Gems.
Did you like the Adam Sandler character?
I kind of did. I kind of related to him on a certain level.
He was the most unlikable, unwatchable person I've ever seen in my life, which is a testament to the performance.
Yeah.
After 2.5 hours of spending that time with that character, I was so happy when it was over.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not an expertly made film and a wonderful film. It was just I had this weird sort of existential issue as far as what I like out of movies after that film, because I was like, I didn't like my time spent there. But the climax was amazing and effective, and the whole film as a whole, I go, this is brilliantly made and it's making me feel things, but I cannot be around this person. He's a sociopath that does not give a shit about anyone but himself. And I just started saying, why do I want to spend 2 hours with this person?
Yeah, see, I would say...
Not that I think that's you. I'm not trying to tie the two. I'm just wondering
no.
if you liked the character, because, and then it made me ask questions about, do you need to like somebody to spend 2 hours with them? And I don't know if that's just because I'm older and time is more precious, but I was like, I didn't enjoy the experience.
I just like feeling something when I'm watching a movie. So many times I'm just blankly staring at a screen, just waiting for the movie to end.
Right.
And with this movie, it wasn't like that. I was like on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
Super engaged. Same, but it didn't feel good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like he had a little bit more heart than you're giving him credit for.
I agree.
I think he had like a compulsive like gambling habit, and he was also like a compulsive like thrill
You
seeker.
guys, spoiler alert.
Sorry, you know what?
No, I think that's
we
in
should
the
stop.
trailer.
We should stop talking about the movie, because for everybody who hasn't seen it, it's like we're just talking about some random shit. So we'll have an Uncut Gems episode.
Sure.
I'm
Maybe
seeing it
we'll
on
bring
Friday, actually.
What?
I'm seeing it on Friday.
Okay, you see on Friday, and then
We'll do
maybe
a
we'll
Gems
get
episode.
Matt Fruchtman on, because all he does is text me about Uncut Gems. For the last 3 weeks, all he's texted me about 7 times a day are just Uncut Gems related things: memes, reviews, podcast interviews. All he does is talk about it. So maybe
Can
we'll
you
get him on.
forward them to me?
Yeah.
Because I'm like that right now in Uncut Gems mode.
Okay, yeah, Matt will give you.
I got a
things.
text from Matt Fruchtman because I guess we alluded to it, my thoughts on Uncut Gems and sort of the experience I had with the film.
He showed me your text.
He
actually.
immediately shot me a text. He's like, "What the hell? What are your thoughts on the text?" And I explained myself.
Yeah.
You read the text?
Yeah, he showed it to me.
Yeah. Did you get what I'm saying
You
when
basically
you read
said in your text what you just said now.
Yeah. Just he ruins everybody in his wake, and you can't abide that at a certain point.
Yeah. Okay, but no more spoilers. Let's carry
Not
on.
Matt,
Yeah.
the Adam Sandler character.
Hey,
Fruchtman's a delight.
Yeah. Highly recommend that movie though. But okay, back to the pub crawl.
So we do the pub crawl.
Yeah.
Amazing. I actually didn't get hit this year. My card never came
Me
out.
either, yeah.
Crazy.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh nice.
I think this is my third year where I haven't been hit.
That's impressive.
I didn't get hit, but I left early because I had to go to Lauren's, and I did. Yeah, no, I was good too.
Yeah.
I had a pretty awesome moment at the end of the pub crawl. We went to get shawarma at Santa Grill, which is an awesome place in Hamilton. And when I went in, I recognized some guys from my old playground basketball days.
Whoa.
And I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. And they were very drunk. And I obviously was very drunk. But I just kind of looked at the guy. And then he looked at me. And he was like, holy shit. He's like, Marley's here. He's like, Marley's here. And then everyone started jumping up and down, going crazy, like, Marley! And going up to Burchell and some other guys, be like, you don't understand. This guy's a playground legend.
Really?
Were
Yeah.
you named after Dan Marley from the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah.
Because he's a white guy?
And they
Who
were
could
like,
shoot?
this is the only white boy we let play on our court. And they're jumping around telling everybody. They're telling the guy who's making the shawarma. And he's like pretending to be interested. And they're like, this guy's shawarma is on me. And everyone's going so crazy. And I'm wearing, Mike had given me the ring that day. And I'm wearing the ring.
The Raptors championship?
And somehow everyone that night thought I had the real ring. So they're going nuts about like just wondering where my life has taken me for if I have the real Raptors ring.
Did you tell him that you were the 15th man on the bench?
Well, I told everybody, I'm like, no, it's the replica. But for some reason, no one could hear me saying this is the $40 replica. Like even when I went to Absinthe, our friend James Tucker came up to me and he's like, yo, I'm really uncomfortable with you guys walking around wearing these $20,000 rings. Can you please be careful tonight? I go, no, I swear it's the $40 replica. He's like, yeah, seriously, be careful. So it was just such a fun night and way to end the night.
The nut was wearing his massive ring out.
Yeah.
I was not going to wear mine because, again, like we get too drunk and it's just too unpredictable. But Birch did not care. He was rocking that thing proudly.
Yeah, it was famous or like money by association, where
Yeah.
people just assume one person has it. Mine must be real also.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm glad that you enjoyed. Do you still? Where'd you put the ring? Do you keep it in your home?
Yeah, right now it's on my mantle, like when you walk in the house.
Did you take the little holder piece that was also in that box?
I think I left it at Max's, and
Right.
I don't give a shit about it just because that means nothing to me. Like I'm not
Yeah.
going to display it like that. I'm going to be wearing it a lot on like fun nights. And
Yeah, the pub crawl was great. Always delivers. And then after that, you guys had digs. That's where
with the digs night, you couldn't come to that because you had to pick your spots, right?
I did, because it was like we had the pub crawl on the Saturday, the digs was on the Monday. I left for Ireland on the Wednesday or whatever. It was just like madness.
I'm at the point where I have no clue who is at any event that I'm ever at, because there's so many group events that I'm just like, oh, you weren't there? Oh, you were there? Like I have no clue who I do anything with. Just that there was like 6 or 7 guys around.
yeah, it's very hard to remember who was at bachelor parties
Yeah.
and all that stuff throughout the holidays. It
For
all
sure.
blends.
Like I just learned that Greg, your brother Greg, has never met Rob Loud. I'm like, how have you never met Rob
Greg
Loud?
Veerman's never met Rob Loud.
No, but because he didn't go to Coachella.
Which felt like a
Oh,
bachelor
right.
party.
Yeah, which there was like 12 of us there. Yeah.
And we will be discussing that time in Coachella when Rob is on later in the
Yeah.
show.
But the J.R. Diggs event had to be like, I thought an Arkells concert had a lot of Mike on Much fans.
Yeah.
Every single person in there knew the pod.
Really?
Like I was having a pee talking to someone next to me, and then a guy like in a stall goes, "Hey, save it for the pod." I'm like, who is that? And there was another guy and we went like Erica was in like the special VIP area. And I ended up in there, and then the guy serving the beer was like, "Hey, just want to let you know, love the pod, listen to every episode."
That's that's fucking awesome. I
Wow.
was on the
That
street
is
yesterday, and some guy was like, "Hey, love the Arkel, love the pod." It was awesome.
Yeah, and I felt like a VIP. Like I felt like I deserved to kind of be in that area, which I did not deserve to be there. Yeah.
Don't sell
Nor
yourself
did I.
short.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't just because it was for performers, really, so I shouldn't have been there.
Erica, did
But
you get
I-
recognized?
No, I don't get recognized that much.
Maybe
I
gotta
got
give
recognized
some-
at an Arkells show once. I sap started pod fan.
Well, your voice probably is more recognizable to people than your face, just because your Instagram maybe 1 out of every 8 Insta posts.
We'll
Yeah.
up that in 2020.
Yeah, we'll get you more pictures.
Yeah,
and
It's
yeah,
our
stuff.
New
yeah.
Year's resolution.
I want to get recognized more. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good resolution.
Do you like getting recognized?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No hesitation. Shani, do you like getting recognized?
If it's for something good.
Is that the guy from the bushes in front of my house? Man, it crushed me not to go to Diggs, and I ran into Diggs on our pub crawl at Shaolin, actually. I ended up chatting with him for a bunch, and he's like, "Oh, you're not coming?" I'm like, "Man, I'm sorry." It's like, I got a kid, and we're leaving her in Canada when we go to Ireland. I'm like, I got to put in as much time as possible. And he seemed to understand, but from everybody I talked to, like my brother the next day, like everyone was saying it was like, this is the party of the year in Hamilton. So congrats to JR for throwing another amazing show. And next year, I will be there. I haven't been able to go since when he was born, but how'd your show go? How'd you performed?
Yeah, it was good. It was great.
What'd you do, 3 songs, 4 songs?
3, 4 songs. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, Mike and Tony joined me. Yeah, Diggs is so funny. I don't know how he pulls it off every single year, but just like the couple days before, he's like, I got some beer. Do you want any beer? Because he's like getting free beer from like all the beer reps in Hamilton. Because everybody like donates their time and their services and a lot of their like materials. And then he's like, "You home now?" And then I was like, "Yeah, I can be home." And then like in 10 minutes, like this beer delivery guy just showed up and like dropped off a bunch of steam whistles at my house. He was just like coordinating everything.
How much we talking?
Like I'm talking like 40 beers.
We got any here? What's the deal? I guess it's a midday on a Monday.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Sorry, guys. I'm coming off Ireland. There are no set hours when it comes to having a nice pint.
So observing your Ireland trip, it seemed like you were like you should be an Irish guy. Like it feels like just everything you and Danica were doing because you were baby free. So it
Yeah.
seemed like you had that extra like little bit of. I'm sure there was anxiety about not being with the baby, but there's also sort of like a little. You're a little freer, right? Just
Yeah.
not having to worry about putting Winnie out to bed and all that shit. That's what you guys do, I guess.
It's part of it. Yeah.
But explain the trip. How was it?
Yeah, it was amazing for a lot of reasons. I mean, first of all, to your point, I want to like going into the trip, which we left on Boxing Day, was just a mad day. Like, there's so many moving parts. Shane, you know, it's like when you got a family, it's like you got to do different families, and you got all of this stuff. And we're also trying to like pack in Toronto so that we can leave Winona in Hamilton because she was staying with Danica's sisters. They split the time. They did an amazing job. I don't know if they listen to the pod, but I wanted to give them a shout out because they were phenomenal taking care of Winona.
Was Winona like confused?
You'd think. You know, I'm a little disappointed because she seemed fine. Like, every video and picture we saw, like, the kid was thriving. We came back. She was doing complex math. Like, everything about it seemed to be going very, very, very well. So Danica and I were, like, thrilled because, like, well, at least the baby is happy. But then also a little bit, it's like, well, shit, what do we like, chopped liver? So, like, we had that sort of, like, this guilt about leaving the baby. It was only for 5 days, but still, that's a lot. Like, she's only like 13 months old, so had all that. I was talking to Shane about it. He's like, "You'll be fine once you get there." He's like, "It'll be good." And obviously, like, Danica's sisters are amazing. So anyway, we finally.
Greg didn't get the call.
Greg would have been fine.
That'd be awesome if Greg had to take care of Winona for
Does
5
Greg
days.
change the diapers ever?
I've never seen Greg change a diaper,
Oh.
but I would trust him to do it. I would trust my brother with Winona for a few days for sure. For sure.
Would he do it?
I think he'd probably have anxiety about it.
Yeah.
Like, I think about myself. Before I had a baby, if someone asked me to take care of a baby for 24 hours, I would be like panicking.
Would you trust me?
Have you ever changed a diaper?
Definitely not.
I think, I trust you because I think you would outsource it. You'd find someone to come over and help you. You'd look through your phone and be like, this seems like someone that can handle a baby. And then you'd hang out and do it with
I
them.
know it's your birthday, Ash, but I need a favor.
Ash would end up doing it.
She'd manage that
Or
situation.
Lauren's a nurse.
Yeah.
You'd
Oh,
be in
yeah.
safe hands. Yeah.
It'd be fine. But actually, Greg, we are going to get Greg to come by and look after because Danica really wants to see Little Women. So we're going to go. We're going to do a little theater night.
So Greg will be with the little woman too.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We'll be seeing
Thank you,
Little Women
Mike.
while Greg's with Lauren.
Thank you, Erica.
But yeah, so anyway, we as you know, there was this wedding in Ireland with our friend Ash Campbell and her husband Dave. And
Shouts to them.
Shouts to them.
Shouts to them.
Well, they got congratulations.
All right, I was joining in on it. I was confused, and then I changed.
No,
my
just
mind.
because Ash listens to the pod, and it sounded like it was a great time.
Well, also there was you contributed to a video. There's a little video of people in Hamilton or Toronto that couldn't be in Ireland, and so it was like nice to. They really appreciated.
Yeah, Rebecca
that.
Lane sent a text message saying like we're gonna make a little compilation video.
Yeah,
so I
that's
did
great.
that.
So anyway, we get on the plane, and the first thing, like, it is weird to not be around your kid, like, because like Shani, you know, like we've been flying with her now like for the last year. And everything is different. Like, I used to love flights because it's like, I'm going to catch up on my movies. I'm going to read a book. I'll listen to some pod that I downloaded. And it's like, you can't. When you have a baby on a plane, it's like, it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job. So just that alone, like, wow, we have like 6 hours on this flight to just, like, I watched Ready or Not, this movie about a bride that's the family's trying to kill her on her wedding night. I watched Stuber, which my brother recommended. Like, I was back old school like Mikey. Like, I was like binging fucking movies.
There's a glow in your eye right now.
Oh, it was
How
nice.
was Ready or Not, by the way?
It was good.
It's good?
It's
Okay.
well done. It's like a
Yeah.
perfect like plane movie. Actually, it's just like it's entertaining. It's well done. And-
Stuber disappointing or no?
well, for me, it was perfect because it was on a plane. It was the
Yeah.
second feature, so you don't really expect much. Like, maybe I'll fall asleep during this. Instead, I'm cackling out loud, which embarrasses Dan. Like, well, she's like, I'm like, am I embarrassing you? Because like, I'll be watching, they'll say something funny. I'll be like, but I've got the headphones in, so it's loud on a fucking plane coming from Europe, whatever. And in like, you know, hour 5. And Danica gives me a look, like just shakes her head. I'm like, am I embarrassing you? She's like, no, you're embarrassing yourself. Like, okay, fine. But I don't care. I was having it. It was great. But so to Ireland, we get there. We were in Dublin the first night, and I've never been to Ireland. And one of the sort of the great things about going to this thing, aside from supporting Ashley and Dave, was getting to go to a country we'd never been to. And so, have you been to Ireland?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome. So, like, yeah, Dublin was great. We did, like, sort of the tourist thing where we went to the Jameson distillery. And I will say, I drank a lot of Jameson Ginger and Live on that trip, 100%. It's like... It's a really, 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 really nice drink, and that is unpaid, 100%.
Wow.
But I love the Jameson Distillery. We did like the sort of classic touristy things, the Guinness factory, things like that. We got the downtown sort of like big city Dublin experience in Ireland. Then we get on a bus and travel 2 hours to Birr, which is this small town where this castle is, where this wedding is going to take place. We get into Birr at like 7 at night, and we're like, we don't even know, like they don't have Uber in Birr. They have like local cab companies. Our Airbnb is at like on this other like estate where we're like in these sort of like these guest quarters in the back of like this farm, and they are such nice people that they send like the husband comes and picks us up at the bus station and then drives us 15 minutes into where like our Airbnb is. And because we were just kind of like flying by the seat of our pants, it was like a 24-hour travel day. We didn't even really have food, and I was like we get in the thing. I'm like, is there a Domino's around here? And then like he starts laughing and he's like, oh, I'll bring you to the grocery store. And so he brings us to like.
Are you gonna be doing Irish accents for the
I
rest
might
of
be
the
doing some voice work. So no, I won't. But he brings us to the grocery store. They were the nicest people. Cut to
So is that the town Dave's from? Birr?
No, he's further like west or something.
Okay.
But this is where the venue was.
Okay.
So everybody came from all around, like all of their friends and everything. And now they're interesting because they met actually in Dubai.
Yeah.
But he's from Ireland. But anyway, we end up. The next day is the wedding, and so we pull up to this castle. Also, the cab company that we used the whole time we're there, literally owned by like a mom and her 2 sons. So we got the same 3 people, whether it was Ivan, Garrett, and I can't remember the mom's name, every time. So we were there for like 3 days. We just kept running into them, whether we had to go to the grocery store or whatever. And we get there, and I mean, you saw the Instagram stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was such a beautiful wedding and a wild experience. And Danica was reading like a really nice poem that Ashley had picked out about like the value of making mistakes, because it means you're trying new things and how you should continue to do that in your life and all that. So like that was a really beautiful reading. Danica did an amazing job. The ceremony
did the poem in front of everybody.
She went up at the ceremony in front of everybody and went up and read it. Yeah. So and that was kind of nice too, because it's like we didn't know a ton of people, right? There's only like maybe like 5 other Hamilton people there. It's actually our mutual friend Julie Striffler. Matt Paxton was there, and some other people. But other than that, we didn't really know anybody other than like Ash's family. But by Danica reading that poem in front of the whole like sort of at the ceremony, everybody would like come up and be like, "Oh, great read!" You know, it's like it kind of made her knowable, like almost like a mini celebrity within the way. So like it just broke. It was a conversation piece every time you talk to somebody.
Oh, that's so nice.
But the ceremony itself was awesome. It was a humanist ceremony. I guess there's like a humanist.
How many Corinthians are we talking?
like what's that, like number of?
I don't know. It's like a Catholic wedding thing. I don't know.
Is humanist like a religion?
It's like a movement in Ireland. So it's not religious. It's non-religious. Basically, it's like the idea of like they're humanists. So he's part of this like humanist. I don't know if it was a league in Ireland. I wish I was better at sort of saying it, but I loved it because he basically explained what he stood for and what Ashley and David wanted out of the ceremony. And it was just like it's about like people believing in people and sort of like, you know, we're only here to like we only have each other to help each other, so we should lift each other up. And I just found it very, very, very well done and just amazing.
Irish guy talking?
Oh yeah.
Was it like way more charming because he's an Irish guy talking it?
Everything was more charming.
Yeah.
It's like everything about like the way that like I think like the pace and like the drinking and the joy and the singing, and it's like I really do feel like I found my people. Like over those 5 days, I was like, these people are awesome. They party harder than the Champagne Boys. It is a 2-day wedding. So we do the wedding, then we like retire to this other part of the castle and we're drinking. What are you laughing at?
just your excitement about this is great.
It was awesome. and then so we do, you know, we're all whatever. We ended up doing the dinner, so we're at table 5, and there's 2 other Canadians with us, but then everybody else was Irish and like so damn fun. This guy Daly, he's like, "Oh, you've never been to an Irish wedding?" I'm like, "No, I've never been to an Irish wedding." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "So tonight," he's like, "we're gonna go to about 4 a.m." I'm like 4 a.m, and I'm looking at Danica and I'm like, and she's like, "Oh Jesus," and I'm like, "This is great." He's like, "But that's nothing." He's like, "Day 2 of an Irish wedding is the best day of an Irish wedding." He's like, "That day we go till 5 a.m." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, Daly, this is amazing, man." Anyway, so I don't know if Danica's going to commit, because Danica's not like, you know, she doesn't have like Champagne Boy stamina. I didn't even know if I could hang with the Irish. But Danica, wedding night, We go till 3 a.m. Amazing. Finally, one of that family, I think it was Garrett, came and got us.
Yeah.
Drives us back to our Airbnb. The next morning, we have to go to the second day. And when we get in the car, we're like, "Oh, did you do any more trips?" He said his last trip was at 5:10 in the morning from the wedding.
Wow.
And by the way, when we left at 3, the dance floor was still rocking.
Yeah.
Like, best wedding band I'd ever seen. Like, this guy's voice was so versatile. Like, all the music was amazing, curated. Ash obviously she has great taste in music. Like, everything had been thought out. It was such a fucking cool wedding. But the second day of the Irish wedding is what I really want to talk about, because that
What you really want to talk about? Okay.
is the thing that I think we need to adopt here in Canada. So, like, it's the next day at a pub, this place called the Chestnut in Burr, and we roll in at like 1:30 because, again, we're like tired. We've been, drinking all night, and we're like, we'll see. Maybe we'll go by for like a few beers, like take a temperature check. We walk in. Fully catered in the back courtyard of this like pub. They have a dude that has been flown in from Manhattan, Irish guy, that literally is doing like guitar, and then he loops it, and then he pulls out the fiddle, and he's like the best fiddler in Ireland.
Wow.
So like, and people like are start dancing. I'm like, what have I walked into? They had ping pong rocking at the opening.
Any good players?
I didn't really watch them. I think you would have probably. I don't know. I think you probably marched through that country and win your fair share of,
I
of
think
ping
so
pong.
too.
Yeah. And then so that was great. And then I was like, our taxi driver was telling us on the way. He's like, the second day of the Irish wedding is the best. He goes, because what happens is everybody's like, the wedding part is like stressful. You want to get it right. You want to hit your marks. There's a little bit of attention to a wedding, the full day of the wedding. It's like finally after it's all done, people enjoy the reception, but the whole day didn't maybe feel, it was nerve-wracking, right? You want it to be great. It's your wedding day. It's like the second day, he's like, that's when the Irish people like go for it, because now nobody gives a shit. Like, there's no stress. All you do is just celebrate and party. So I'm like, I don't know how long we're going to last here. Sure enough, Danica too, honestly, kudos, because I've never been prouder of my wife. She was like, I'm in Ireland, I'm committing. Wow. We went for it till midnight, like that night. And then all the Canadians ended up at this like little fast food place in Burr, kind of like this greasy like food joint. And Ash we got to say our goodbyes and all that stuff. And at some point during that party, I drank a lot of Guinness, and one of the guys from Table 5, this guy Vivian, he was performing that night as well. He got up, Vivian was playing guitar, and he's like, "You come up, if you want to come up," and people could go up and do stuff. And I was like, no, it's not about me, guys. It's not about me.
And then
after a good 2 days of drinking Guinness and making best friends with all these Irish people who are the nicest people in the world, I'm like, all right. He was playing Champagne Supernova, so I was like, fuck it, I'll get up. So then I get up and start doing it, but I guess like none of these people like. They're like, they didn't know if even Vivian was like, I didn't know you could sing. And so I started doing it, and actually Julie Striffler got funny video of it. But like all the Irish dudes, we'll post it. They're all at the front of the stage now, like supporting me. And then when we left, Danica's like, okay, we got to go. We're all going for food. But all the Irish dudes, like Dave's version of the Champagne Boys, they were still going hard. And I was very torn, where I'm like, can I stay and party with these? No, I got to go with Danica, because our Airbnb is 15 minutes outside of the city center, so I can't send her in a cab, and my phone didn't even work. Our phone doesn't work outside of North America, by the way, Shane.
Oh, shit.
Our work phones. I learned that the hard way. And then I went with Danica, but then I found out the next day when we were in Dublin with Julie that they all went till 3 a.m. at Dooley's. And this is what's so wrong with me, is it's like I had a perfect experience. We got out of there at midnight. Everybody was happy. I was drunk. I sang a song. I walked off like a hero. And when I found out that they'd gone to Dooley's until 3, I was like, I missed out.
Yeah, did you start resent Danica for the rest of the trip?
No. Although,
You fucked me, Danica.
And then we spent our last night in Dublin, and it was great. We went for a nice fancy dinner, actually, because we gotten pretty friendly with Julie and her friend Jill, and so we ended up, all the 4 of us went for a nice fancy dinner in Dublin our last night.
Mickey O'Veerman.
Start calling me that, because I mean I know I was only there for 5 days, and we got sort of the main city experience in Dublin, and then we got the countryside, which was beautiful. It's like a fucking Downton Abbey or something, that castle, but I don't know if I feel like I got a good sense of sort of the disposition of the country and sort of the goodwill of the people. And again, the way that they drink, I know it was a wedding, but there was something very nice about it.
You've always loved pubs, number one, and you love chatting. And the Irish love pubs, and they're very social people.
Oh.
And they're storytellers too.
All amazing storytellers.
Yeah, because the thing is, every country. Let's say we're talking about Europe. Everyone's like, oh, we're Russians, we love drinking vodka, or we're Germans, we love our beer, or whatever. It's we're French, we love our wine. But there is a certain social thing that happens in Ireland, which is all based around going to the pub and having conversation, like lively conversations.
Is it better than England, you think?
I enjoyed it much more. I did. And again, like, it's kind of built to succeed because you're around people that are friends with your friends. It's a wedding. Everyone's in good spirits. But the what I pulled out of it, like the singing, like you said, the storytelling, all the speeches, amazing. Like they're so funny and charming and can like. They know how to tell a story. They lay it out perfect. Like Dave told the funniest story about him and Ashley's like first date and her having to like, cause she was working for like Air Emirates and she was living in like an all girl dorm. So you couldn't have males in. So she had to sneak him in her suitcase, like her rollie. It was so
Wait, he literally
funny.
went in a rollie?
He went in a rollie.
That's fun.
It was a big rollie. Yeah, but anyway, the way he told the story was like so fucking funny, and it's just like it was really nice to kind of like go to, because we've been to a ton of weddings, and Shane we'll have to do like the MC thing or whatever. It was interesting to see. I was like, how much did these guys plan their speeches? Like him, the best man, his dad gave him. I became really good friends with his dad. His dad was buying me Guinness the next day at the pub, kissing me on like the cheek, and I don't know, man. It was a really fun trip.
And another thing you're talking about the musician, and just the general musicianship over there. I find it so inspiring to be in the UK, Scotland, Ireland, where they have this like tradition of pub music, and the players are always so good. They're such great singers, such great guitarists, like the fiddlers, and it's one of those things. It's like anything. It's like if you live in a community that's like where people love to play basketball, everybody's just kind of a better basketball player. Or if you're in a community that's like whatever the thing that defines that place, everybody. Just like to get in the conversation, you have to be pretty good. And I just remember going to a pub in Glasgow, and I was like, and just watching. It was an open mic night, so it was just like random people. It wasn't even like a paid guy. Random people were just going up and doing songs, and I was like, each one of these people is way better than me. Like, and I was like, I can't even go up there. Everyone's an amazing singer, amazing guitarist, and I was just like so impressed by that. And so when you go to Ireland, you just like really feel like how much that music is like in their DNA and how good they are playing.
When you go to an open mic, are you ever tempted, if you're in a place where Arkells aren't known, to go up and just blow people away?
No, but that's the thing is I was like, in my mind when I got there, I was like, open mic, that might be kind of fun, a little story to tell. I'm in Glasgow, bring down the house, and then
show them how it's done.
Yeah, show them how it's done. And then each new person that came up, I was like, I don't want to go after that guy. I don't want to go after this person. Oh, no, don't want to go after. I was like, and then I just didn't do it because I was too intimidated.
Do you think it's like that in Newfoundland too, kind of?
Yeah, Newfoundland, yeah, totally. Yeah.
I always say that wrong, right?
Yeah, it's Newfoundland.
What do I say? Newfoundland?
Newfoundland.
I hate
like
saying
Newfound
it.
Glory.
Yeah,
Your
I can never
favorite
say
band.
it correctly.
Yeah. No, they have that tradition as well.
Well, to close the loop on the trip, we got home. And the big moment where we were going to like be reunited with Winona. We'd done one FaceTime because we didn't want to confuse her, because FaceTime's weird for a baby. It's like, are my parents in the phone? Like, what is this? Are we going to scramble her young mind when she... So we were very like hesitant, but my brother-in-law was like, no, like, let's do it. She's been amazing. We're like, well, I guess if it's, she's upset, they're the ones that have to kind of deal with it, like... But psychologically, I'm just like, I was weird about the FaceTiming. But anyway, we did the one FaceTime. We finally come home. Winona comes into the apartment, and we're like, obviously like there's tears and all that on our end because we're like so emotional. Even saying goodbye was hard. But it was like I was picturing her like running towards us like fucking Chariots of Fire, us like crossing a beach to get arms open, and she was kind of just indifferent, like, hey, what's up, like, what's going on, cool, like went over to her toys, was happy to see the cats, and then I brought her to daycare like a couple days later, and she saw her like favorite teacher. And like she got the reunion that I wanted with the baby. I couldn't believe it. But
so funny.
Anyway, it makes me happy that my kid is happy. Just a little bit, I thought it would.
But what we're taking from this trip is that you resent Danica from taking you from Dooley's, and your baby's ungrateful.
Baby's ungrateful for sure. I don't resent Danica. If anything, I'm troubled by my own pension that I had an amazing exit, and only when I found out the next day that they went till 3 a.m. at Dooley's that my FOMO kicked in. Yeah. I actually was like, what is wrong with you? You had the best night. You were glowing. And then you're like, fuck, I missed it on Dooley's with Dave and Davis and Vivian and the boys. Like, I fucking know these guys. There was a guy named Shane, Irish Shane, who I really liked. Yeah, he was awesome. But anyway, I think that we need to go there as the Champagne Boys. I don't know if it's somebody's bachelor party, if Brody or my brother ever get married and people want to go there, or I think it should be a Champagne Boys trip.
Let's do it.
I think it'd be really, really fun.
Did you find out their views on leprechauns? Like, are they cool with them, or do they think that's like racist or whatever?
It never came up.
No? Oh, that's the first question I'd ask.
Yeah, at customs. We're not going to allow you in, sir. Yeah, no, I didn't ask that. But, I talked all sorts of local sports, local rugby. Again, great storytellers. No lack of conversation.
Shane, how's Florida?
It was good. Yeah, it was. I went to the Magic Kingdom, which is Disney
I saw
World.
that on social media, and I've never been. It's one of those things that I thought maybe one day I'll get to do it.
When you saw the one picture of Alex in the sea of people, were you like, fuck no?
I didn't know. If anything, I was just more like, I'm very fascinated what his experience was like there. Because I just, you see it on TV all your whole life growing up. But had you been before that?
Yeah, I'd been probably 9 times.
Oh, wow. Jesus.
Well, just from like, I feel like I went every
It's just
year.
a kingdom now. The magic fades a bit.
Oh, hey, Mickey. What's up, Shane? But from like 4 till I was 10, I went every year. So what's the math there? 6 years. This is probably my 7th time, realistically. And I've been to Universal Studios and Epcot and all that stuff also before. But it's way better being an adult going with a baby. We had the option to go on the weekend, but we decided to go on Tuesday instead. But Tuesday, which we didn't think of until we booked the tickets, was New Year's Eve, which is actually the busiest day of the year for Disney.
Oh.
In fact, they turned people away at the door.
Oh, wow.
And it made the news. It made like international news how busy Disney was. So from about like 8 a.m. till noon, it was manageable. But after that, it was like every inch was like gold. Like you had to shuffle. You could not walk.
Wow.
And,
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, I thought it would be, but Alex had organized the fast passes and all the stuff that I hate doing. Like,
Did you guys did like you paid for like the experience? Like it's quicker.
Yeah, so you instead of waiting,
Amazing.
like the wait for Space Mountain was almost 4 hours. So we would go to a ride that had that equivalent wait, but we would get in there in 20 minutes. And Alex had the app which actually tells you the wait times of each ride and when the fast pass is going to go and all that.
Good planning. How do you feel philosophically about fast passes?
Oh, they do it pretty well where it's not just like you can just go. Like they have it what is kind of fair. You do pay extra to get it. And I think it is kind of a godsend if you're a person who's impatient or with a very small child who can't necessarily wait in line. Yeah. So you don't feel like Bieber, like, ooh, hi, bye, like we're passing you. I thought it was going to be really like that.
Elitist experience?
Yeah, but it was good,
Yeah.
and you are still waiting for a fair bit of time. And on New Year's Eve, it's almost like you can't go to the park unless you have the fast passes, because you can maybe do 2 rides, and that will take 8 hours to go on 2 rides. So we did about 6 or 7 rides, and Lou, who had never seen a Disney film in her life, I don't think, maybe Moana, but she knew who Mickey was. There was a Mickey parade, and she goes, Mickey! And starts going crazy like it's a really famous person. And then we got her the classic Mickey. It's kind of like the thing that our people wear on the back of their heads. It's like a yarmulke.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
is that what it's
Our
called?
people?
Yeah, that's what it's called, right? Yarmulke?
Yeah, yarmulke.
With the Mickey ears. Because
I
there's
don't
the
think
option.
yeah.
There's like the barrette thing or whatever.
It's the
headband.
mouseka. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got Lucy that, thinking she's not going to take to it. It was her favorite thing we've ever gotten her. She was making sure it was strapped on tight.
Wow.
It's the cutest thing to see, like a
Aw.
toddler wearing the Mickey hat, and then Alex got the Minnie Mouse ears, and all, like we got the classic stuff.
What'd you
so
wear?
it was a great day. I wore nothing because I really didn't. I was looking so fat and so bad. I did not want to be in any of the photos. I was a very willing photographer that trip, and then
Willing
we
photographer.
stick around for at 6:30. They do the New Year's Eve fireworks, which are world renowned, famous. Apparently, it's like the best fireworks show in the world. So they do the same show at 6:30 for the kids that they're going to do at midnight for, I guess, all the adults. And it was crazy worth it. I had never seen anything like that in my life. Like they have like a Tinkerbell actress fly up and set off the whole fireworks. She's on like some rope system, but it's seamless, so it looks like she's actually flying up to the castle. And then it's like a 20-minute fireworks show that actually brought tears to my eyes. And I was not drunk at all or anything. It was like making me very emotional.
Was there music being played?
Yeah, the old Lang sang. What's that song?
Old Lang Syne?
Yeah, they played that song.
What's that? I don't know.
It's the New Year's Eve song.
Yeah.
Robbie Burns, I think, wrote the lyrics.
Oh, cool. Nice.
But yeah, and then that was pretty much the highlight of the trip. I was with my in-laws, my brother-in-law, and his girlfriend.
I saw he shaved his head.
He did.
Wow.
How ripped was he looking?
Very ripped. It was
Nice.
very annoying being with him. And and then we visited my dad and my stepmom, who were also down there in Cocoa Beach. So that was very nice to have
nice.
so many hands on deck for the kid. It was almost like she wasn't even there because everyone was so helpful and willing to participate. The only kind of bummer of a trip like that is the airport. Going through the airport, we had a moment on the airplane where we were stuck for 2 hours on the plane with the air conditioning broken.
Oh God.
And Lou has never freaked out on a plane before.
Was this in like when you had landed in Florida?
No, this is before we took off in Florida to get back home.
Oh, okay.
So people were talking to us like, "Oh, she's so cute. How is she on a plane?" And Alex was like, "She is a dream, I assure you." And of course, Lucy goes full exorcist mode. But this is after 2 hours of being overheated. Literally, the whole flight's supposed
I
to
would
be
act that way
to
too.
2 hours. So Lou was
You don't
doing.
want to see Erica go into exorcist mode.
Well, Lou was doing what every adult wanted to do, which
Yeah.
is just like scream at the top of their lungs and punch stuff. And she at one point bit Alex as hard as she could on her arm.
Wow.
Drew blood, and then she had a pouch, like it was like a pear flavored pouch, and threw it, and it literally seemed like Linda Blair spitting out the vomit in The Exorcist, and it went all over me and the seat in front of us. So it was just such a mess, but it was so over the top that all Alex and I could do was laugh at it. So we did have fun even in the most stressful situation, and because we had a bit of a buffer with my in-laws behind me and my brother-in-law and his girlfriend to the left of us, created a bit of a zone where we didn't feel like we were annoying so many people, whereas if I was alone, I would have been a little bit more scared. Everything else was great.
How were your holidays?
It was pretty quiet. It was great. Loved being around. I went to a wedding as well, New Year's Eve.
Yes.
Our friend Megan Davies.
I know, I felt bad. We would have been there.
Beau Tom, and it was awesome. Big Croatian-Italian wedding at the convention center. They also had a traditional Croatian band playing. And I actually just like any kind of form of folk music, I think, is what I've revealed. Because it was just like, I don't know much about Croatian folk music, but I learned a little something there. And then I was seeing you in Ireland. I'm like, that's kind of nice when people sort of, pay homage to the place where they're from.
Absolutely.
And then we ended up kind of doing an after party at the Onyx, which is my old apartment, where our friends AJ and Carly live. And it was like a real it felt like 10 years ago or something.
Dialed back.
Yeah, it was awesome.
They still live at the Onyx? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
A lot nicer now, too, than it was.
A lot nicer.
I bet.
But
These
my
guys live
bedroom at the Onyx, which was just kind of
It's like a sunroom. It wasn't even a bedroom.
It wasn't a bedroom. It was like a sunroom, and it was just kind of like 6 degrees colder in the winter, 6 degrees hotter in the summer.
You had a little keyboard in there, and you had like a guitar, and that was all that fit.
And I paid $300 a month for a very long time.
Good deal, though.
Yeah. So it was fun to check out that room. It's just a storage room now, and their dog shits in there a lot. So,
So not much has changed.
Not much has changed. It was pretty low key. I don't really have much to say. It was nice. It was just nice to be home and not moving around. But
I bumped into Megan at the grocery store.
oh really? Yeah, she looked beautiful. She was very happy.
She said she was very sick that day.
Oh really?
She couldn't really even party.
Oh yeah, her voice was a little scratchy when she was making her speeches.
Yeah.
But
Excellent baseball player. Played with
yeah,
us on
she's a varsity athlete. She went to D1 scholarship for
Soccer,
for soccer, but she's good at everything. Really competitive too, which I like.
She was like our MVP on the Gamblers.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Won a championship together. Those bonds don't break easily.
It's true.
Well, it was weird conditions because it was technically a tie, wasn't it?
That was the year we didn't win it, and then the year with the tie we forfeited because we didn't want to play the tie break.
Right.
But we did.
So
win.
I didn't win a championship.
Yeah, the
then.
next year I think we won it.
Was I
against
on it?
that older team?
Okay.
Yeah, you were there. I just want to clarify. I realized if people think that Danica and I were heartless for not bringing the baby to Ireland, did you guys get that feeling at all?
No,
I don't
not
know.
at
I never
all.
know if people are judging
No,
when they
sometimes
listen.
you gotta go do
Yeah,
parent trip.
Well, so what it was though, we didn't want to rent a car. You need to rent a car if you're gonna have a baby, right? Or you're gonna be trucking around. It was like from the airport to Dublin was like one trip, and then it was 2 hours from Dublin to Birr, and then like 20 minutes either way. Basically, if we were going to bring the baby, we were going to have to drive, and the idea of driving on the other side of the road was terrifying. Also, I did call it the wrong side of the road with one of our taxi drivers. And he's like, "Oh, it's not the wrong side of the road here." But and then like Danica was like, "You mean the other side of the road?" I'm like, "Yes." But we were watching a video the night before because we were going to rent a car. And we were like, and it was too intimidating.
Oh yeah, and also, but I will say that there's a certain just observing your social media. There's a glow that you have when you're with your baby, and you can feel like the love, like the deepest kind of love that you have for Winnie, and just like the way you guys interact with her. But there's also like a freedom that I was observing in your Instagram and both are important.
Yeah,
is it that, like the fact that like you guys were just like all kind of dolled up and like just kind of enjoying each other, which is also a very important part of life. Was really cool. So I think I think as the expert parent here, I think both are very important. But yeah,
Erica, how were your holidays? Anything popping?
Oh, they were great. Very chill as well. I also went to a couple weddings. I had a wedding on the 29th and the 31st.
Wow.
Yeah, that was fun. And then you guys, on New Year's Day, I watched 5 movies in one day.
Name them.
The Snowman.
Oh.
Have you seen it?
You went real deep into art film.
Oh, it was bad. It was really bad. We watched The Snowman, and then we watched
Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's considered one of the worst movies of all time.
It's so bad.
Did you watch it ironically?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. Someone else put it on, and I said this movie sucks.
All right, so Snowman.
Wet Hot American Summer.
Ooh.
So good. That's like my favorite movie now.
The movie, not the series.
Yeah, the original movie.
That's very hilarious.
So funny. The Interview.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. With
But
Seth
we turned
Rogen.
it off halfway.
Oh.
No. It's with
Seth Rogen.
no.
What?
There's another movie called The Interview.
Yeah, I think that's what it was called. It's this guy. He gets ripped from his house in the middle of the night, and they arrest him, and he's being interrogated the whole time.
Oh, is this Cumberbatch or?
And they don't know, he doesn't know why he's there, and so in the movie, he's like slowly figuring out why he was arrested.
I was thinking of The Interview with Seth Rogen and
Me too.
what's that
North-
guy?
Franco.
James
Yeah.
Franco.
Yeah.
They hate us because they ain't us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And then we watched Creep and Creep 2.
I've
Have you guys seen that?
No.
It's
No.
so good. It's so
How do you
good.
feel? I don't know if I could do 5 movies in a row. Like that's a skill that I don't have. Like you guys are just like, we're in it. We're not going
No,
anywhere.
you're just so hungover, right?
We were
That was-
so
yeah.
hungover. I didn't I moved 3 times that day.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But
But
yeah,
out of all
that's
those,
pretty much it.
out of all those, the hard reco is Creep and Creep 2.
Creep and Creep 2, very good. Wet Hot American Summer. If you have never seen it, you should check it out.
Was Creep 2 able to live up to Creep?
Creep 2 was the best sequel to
Wow.
any movie I've ever seen in my life.
You've seen Terminator
Godfather 2 would like.
No. I've seen High School Musical 2, and that's pretty much it.
Well, okay.
But-
no wonder.
Yeah, no, it was a great sequel, and they're making a 3rd, and I can't fucking wait. So I
Is
will be
this
seeing
like a
Creep 3.
Jeepers Creepers type?
No, it's like a Blair Witch kind of style. It's like found footage.
Yeah.
And it's like a thriller, and it's just about this very like eccentric guy, and that's all I'll say. But
Okay,
I
there's a
highly recommend it.
tease.
It's really good.
All right, well, guys, we're all back from vacation. I feel like we're all caught up in the last 10 days of our lives where we haven't been potting. And actually, for our listeners, you know, you probably, I don't know what this episode will net out as when you see it on the wherever you listen to your podcasts, but you're not getting one for a while, so we don't mind doing a supersized one, right, Maxie? Like, are you
I'm
gone?
gonna be away, but I can maybe do a call in too.
Okay, so
yeah,
potentially, but you might not have one for a week. So
How long you
hopefully
away
you'll
for?
join us.
1 week?
yeah, just for a few days next week, but let's do a call.
We'll try and sort it.
Well, you're getting one this week, which is this one.
Yeah.
and then we'll work on something for next week.
Okay, well, before we get to some topics, I just wanted to remind you to listen to The Pedestal. We have a new episode up right now. We reviewed the film Seven.
With Fiji Girl.
That's right, Fiji Water Girl, Kelleth Cuthbert, who this time last year had just become super famous from the Golden Globes red carpet.
Good segue.
Thank you very much.
Oh wow,
Yes.
that's some pro shit right
Thank
there.
you, my
She
friends.
was just being interviewed on Fox News, apparently.
About this year's Golden Globes.
Yeah. She
Interesting.
didn't. She chose not to watch.
Oh, too painful.
I think she was just hanging with her dogs and chose not to watch.
Well, if you listen to
It
Kelleth,
wasn't the best
on,
interview in the world.
If you listen to Kelleth on the Pedestal with myself and Shane and Johnny Popoulos, she was great. We broke down Seven, and you'll have to see whether we kept it on the pedestal or knocked it off, starring Brad Pitt and Morgan
Definitely
Freeman.
kept it on. Come on,
Well, Max, you're gonna have to listen.
Why do you think that?
because it's so fucking good.
When's the last time you saw it?
A couple years ago, I think.
I would listen to this episode, Max.
Ooh.
You might be surprised.
Interesting.
This was one of the funnier episodes. I remember laughing very hard at one point when we were talking about the different sins. And
Oh my god.
yeah,
Yeah. probably the hardest time that we'd laughed on an episode. I think I was brought to tears by it.
It was one of those laughs where you can't breathe, like you're trying to breathe in. That's how I was laughing. It was a fun episode. So that's your tease. Go over and check that out. But speaking of the Golden Globes, guys, did you watch last night? I mean, I know we were talking to Rob Loud for a bit, but I was PVRing, so I went home, grabbed a burrito on my way, a little bit hungover from Ash's birthday party, and threw on the Globes.
I did not watch it, but I watched the Ricky Gervais opening monologue, which is kind of the only important part, right?
I mean, that's the thing everyone's talking about today.
Yeah, I mean, like, because after that, the show kind of happens. People win awards. Like, people are happy that Brad Pitt won. I don't know, like. That stuff happens.
He gets a couple more zingers. I think he comes out like 4 more times, and as he's introducing a presenter, he'll try and like do a joke. Did you watch the whole show, Shane?
No, right before Tom Hanks gave his Lifetime Achievement speech, I left. But I did watch the speech later on.
Tom's speech.
Tom Hanks, yeah.
Did you watch the Globes?
Yeah, I watched a little bit when I got home. I didn't see the opening monologue, but I saw a few things in between. Do you guys really think Leo's hotter than Brad? Because we talked about this before, and didn't all
Brad
three of you say Leo was
really
hotter?
amazing last night, I will say. He
Brad-
looked way hotter than normal. They did his hair
He's
pretty
got perfect fucking hair.
Do you think he has plugs?
I don't know. If he does, they're seamless. I guarantee Quentin Tarantino dyes his hair, but I think that Brad's hair looked amazing.
His everything looked amazing. His voice
like
is
the
amazing.
dig at Tarantino, who's clearly not in conversation for hottest guys.
Well, I was looking at their table, and you got Leo, you got Brad, and then when Tarantino won his award for Best Original Screenplay, as he was like walking, I remember years ago Max had told me this whole thing about older men dyeing their hair, which I'd never even thought about ever, and now I can't unsee it when it's like you see someone like Bruce Springsteen, it's like
Not a hint of gray.
It doesn't. Well, it's gray in the perfect spot, and then it's like that. He's got work. So now I notice it. And so I thought when I looked at Tarantino, I see this with Mark Cuban as well. I can't not see the dye in the hair. Is that a crazy thought? Ever since you told me, Max, do you notice it as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you ever dye your hair?
I don't know. We'll see.
You guys don't have any grays.
I know. It's shocking.
You guys have all very nice heads of hair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I mean, we could have a whole podcast on who's hotter, Brad or Leo. I mean, Brad, I think, has aged better because.
And here it goes.
You might get another pod this week.
Yeah, I think Brad Pitt is hotter than Leo is now. But like, are we going their peak?
Wow,
it's like,
Erica looks indignant.
Hold on, you think Leo's hotter than Brad right now? Have you seen
no,
Leo
Brad is
shirtless
hotter
with
than
his
Leo.
new girlfriend?
Have you seen Thelma and Louise? Like, Brad has never left his peak. Like, he's always.
No, that's
it
what I'm
just
saying.
keeps getting better.
Okay, no. Okay,
You think he's better now than Thelma?
I think it's different, but you could argue it's better.
I think Brad is hotter than Leo is right now. And then so the question is, and I think we can all agree on that, right? Brad is a hotter older guy than a Leo is.
1,000%.
Brad's always looked like a man. Leo was a very
it's a
attractive
different
young
type
guy.
of hunk, though.
No, they're both good looking, obviously. But
Leo's like the original Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, he is. So then,
Yeah.
so there's like peak Leo versus peak Brad. Like it's just like peak Jordan versus peak LeBron. Who do you got?
But my question is, when has Brad peaked? I think he's been peaking for 25
Okay,
years.
well, in this case, then just choose a fucking year and then compare him against Leo's best year.
What's Brad's best year in your opinion? Is it this year?
I can't tell you.
Okay, it
like,
doesn't
I
matter.
don't know.
Okay, whatever, like any year, because you don't seem to give a shit. He's always been hot.
Always.
Versus like Leo in like 1997.
Romeo and Juliet,
Yeah.
Leo's the hottest Leo.
Yeah. Okay. So who do you think is hotter?
Brad.
Brad. No matter. Who do you think?
It's a different. It depends what you're into. Are you into the jockey hunk type where he can protect you, or do you like the waif who's just a beautiful man, like model type?
Which do you prefer?
I prefer the beautiful man model type.
You don't have a
Well,
need to be protected?
Well, I do, but I also
But maybe you protect them.
maybe. But let me finish my thought
Sorry.
here, Mac. I
want to be with young Leo so I could protect him.
I just have this like probably wrong belief that a guy who has such a nice body and good framework, he might be more rude or douchey, whereas a very thin, frail, beautiful man like Leo.
Frail.
Well, when he was
frail.
I know, yeah.
Now
Have
he's
you
not
seen
so frail.
Basketball
Delicate
Diaries?
looking.
Have you seen Basketball Diaries?
No.
Oh my god, he's like 90 pounds in that film.
It's no creep too.
Yeah.
I don't.
But that's just more of like just a beautiful man, right? Like I think Brad's appeal is heightened by his body.
So there's voice too. He's got a nice low voice.
But there's two components to Brad. There's his body and his face. Leo it's just his face, and I think that says a lot when you can rely on just that.
Yeah.
So I think Leo might have the edge face-wise, but overall nowadays, maybe Brad's the better package.
Yeah. I mean, I think as I think Brad would be a bit of like life partner, and you could trust him to age gracefully. Like he's gonna take care of himself in his like 70s and 80s. But yeah, it kind of depends on the day of the week, though. Honestly, it's just like if you're in the mood for Leo, and you're just like, I just want to fuck that guy, and then. But then sometimes you're like, no, I just want to fuck Brad. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of depends on the day of the week.
But like current Leo?
No, current
No.
Leo, no.
No.
Yeah, you guys saw the photos of him and his new girlfriend at the beach. She's like this, like of course, like 22-year-old little skinny model, and he just has like this big gut.
Yeah, but a beach isn't where a guy like Leo thrives.
Yeah.
Like
Where does he thrive?
He thrives
For the first time ever, I'm finding myself relating to Leo.
No, Leo.
I do my best work in Irish pubs, not in places where my shirt has to come off in sunlight.
Yeah, when Leo's young, he thrived in maybe a just like a model type tighter shirt or like a tucked in button up. Mm-hmm. Now he's probably thrives more in a suit or at the Golden Globes where you can kind of hide all your cellulite.
Mm-hmm.
He's like he was boyishly, strikingly handsome, and then he now has like a dad bod. You know,
right.
But Brad has always been like an Adonis.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brad is sort of like what you would sculpt. He's sort of like this perfect ideal of whatever we think that is.
Hey, they're on Marin today. So
Oh,
I'm very excited.
Oh, I've already listened.
Yeah, I'm
I
20
can't wait.
minutes in. Yeah.
Yeah, Greg texted me said listen to it on your commute today. So I'm
Did Greg already listen?
Yeah.
To it? That's funny. Yeah. But speaking of the Golden Globes and Leo and hanging out with a 22-year-old on the beach, one of Ricky Gervais's jokes was that Brad Pitt or that Leo had to sit through a screening of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a 3-hour movie, and by the end of it, his date that he had brought had already aged out too old for him.
Yeah.
I nailed that joke.
Great delivery.
This is why you come on pods and do other comedians' jokes, guys. Fuck.
Okay, but Shane, you loved Gervais. I thought it was fucking awesome. Why did you like it so much?
Just because it was so unvarnished and not trying to soften the blow at all. Like at all. Like usually there's a diss and then someone's like, I'm kidding. But seriously, and then they'll...
He seemed pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
Like to a degree, like he's always sort of said whatever he wants to and like likes really taking the piss out of people. But the bit about Apple and all you woke celebrities.
That wasn't even a joke.
It was no, but that's the thing. It wasn't a joke. It was just like fuck all of you. Like I sincerely mean it. Fuck all of you. All you people that want to come on stage and talk about how woke you are and talk about your message. It's like you are no better than everybody else because you're working for a company like Apple that has sweatshops in China. And so go fuck yourself. Again, like if ISIS started a network, you'd have your agents calling them if you can get the money. Yeah. And I just think that was so good.
Yeah, because everyone is such a hypocrite, and it's just nice to hear someone call everyone out like that.
Yeah.
And it was, if you love cringe comedy, which I do, you're going to love that because you're laughing not because it's so clever or witty, just because the form in which he's doing it is so brash and bold.
Yeah.
And everyone laughing in the crowd was nervous laughter. And I just love seeing people squirm.
Yeah, because everyone's like, is he
And
gonna
some
get
people
me
won't.
next?
Like they did a cutaway to Hanks, who just kind of had like a like look on his face,
Which is the it's the best thing to do because
Yes.
it shows you're not a prude, but it shows you're also not laughing.
Yep.
And he's become a meme of kind of like for moments in life that are, ooh, that's right, but I can't emote to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was. Yeah, I'd be interested to know like if he wrote all those jokes himself, or he has a team, or like.
I think they always have a team, but
Yeah.
it's just he curates it and probably does a lot of the writing. The Judi Dench joke,
Yep.
I thought was so hilarious because it was so crass, so rude,
so stupid.
but so silly at the
Yes.
same time where you're
Perfect.
not hurting anyone.
Yeah.
Like calling James Corden a fat pussy is a little mean because anytime you're talking about someone's weight, although you might get a get out of jail free card because it's a man and men aren't as scrutinized.
And they're both British or something. Yeah.
Right. So that I thought was one of his kind of weaker jokes, but I loved the Leo joke. I was pissing myself laughing at the Judi Dench cat joke. Did you see that, Erica?
Yeah, about lifting her leg.
What'd you think of that?
Funny.
Yeah.
That was funny.
And of course, I loved the capper, which is just the indictment against Apple and like hypocrisy.
So good. Yeah, I do think that. Yeah, that's like the big culture wars that we have really come down to like liberals. Like everybody has their own issues, but liberals like lacking any self-awareness for any of their hypocrisies and being the people that just are constantly like sort of condescendingly preaching their values. And then you're just like, you're so fucking annoying to listen to. And a lot of times, like, and I agree, like that with a lot of all the progressive liberal values, but the tone in which progressives do it can be so fucking annoying, and it's obviously at its height at an award show like this. And so for like Ricky Gervais, I think like it was kind of a unifying moment. Like I feel like he's one of the only people in the culture that could say that thing where everybody in America kind of has to go, yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
Like who's saying he's wrong? Like
no.
The only people who'd say Ricky Gervais, you crossed the line, are people that are lying to themselves.
Right.
Yeah, which I fucking loved. It's just like I feel like people on the right were like, fucking right, Ricky Gervais, and every liberal's like, yeah, he got it. He fucking nailed it.
Do you think that's going to be a cultural shift in the way people buy Apple products?
No.
Like, you know how like if a New Yorker article does a very revealing thing on a certain celebrity, even if there was revealing, if people already knew a truth, like let's say Harvey Weinstein, they knew certain things about him, did nothing. But if a New Yorker article comes out, then it's so known that they'll have to kind of banish him.
Like change behaviors.
You know,
Yeah.
okay, what I mean, we're talking about.
Like I was thinking about that a lot. Like Ricky just did what a New Yorker article tends to do, which just makes everyone know something all at the same time.
I think we all kind of knew that about Apple.
But here's
That's
the thing,
that's
like-
exactly what I'm saying, though.
But do you think at some point Apple will have to be so uncomfortable that they have to change practices?
Well, I think,
or do you, do you care enough as somebody that's progressive that you'd be like, you know what, maybe I won't buy an Apple product? Or do you go, any other phone I buy is going to be in the same boat? It's all made cheaply by questionable labor.
what would be an awesome trend is if Ricky starts this trend of like rich liberal elites just calling out their own hypocrisy, like plain and simple, and to the point where people would have to like readjust their values. So you know what I mean? Like, because everybody likes to espouse like their own good virtues, but no one actually. But anything that sort of is like, oh yeah, well I am sort of benefiting from a system. Oh yeah, I am kind of like the top 5% in society, et cetera, et cetera. No one living in New York or LA or San Francisco actually acknowledges like they're actually the most privileged people, and with the most like luck and good fortune in the fucking world. And so anything that kind of makes them uncomfortable, like Apple and having sweatshops, is like, we don't like to talk about that. So it would be awesome if Ricky Gervais did start a thing where everyone's just like, no, fuck off. Like, you guys are not actually better than anybody. You're actually the benefactors of all this.
So you
whole
don't
system.
think it leads to sort of the idea of Apple having better labor practices? You think it just leads to people saying, yeah, you're right, I should shut up and keep using this flawed product?
No, I think it. No, I'm hoping that the more people that call it out for exactly what it is, that might change their behavior, and then companies like Apple would have to change their own behavior as well.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I was thinking about this a lot when the China stuff was going on with the NBA players.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people had views that things should be done about China, or they had felt a certain way, but they were wearing Nike shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
course.
we were just talking to someone right before this, and I couldn't stop thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
how people will be like, LeBron should have said something, or LeBron should have done something, and then they themselves are supporting Nike.
Oh yeah.
Nike.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, and I get it that it's like complicated, and it's like there's like we're talking about like global economic practices and trade agreements and blah blah blah. But I do think with public pressure and like a real honest assessment of your own behavior and calling out other people who are like virtue signalers, that could shift things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's fascinating.
But yeah, Gervais is so fucking good. Like there was some like good. Yeah, he kept going too, and I feel like Twitter loved him. I feel like the reaction on Twitter was really good. Someone tweeted like, "The madman, he's done it again." So good.
What were
So
your thoughts,
hilarious,
Mike?
Emily. Yeah, I thought he was great. The funny thing is, because you had sent the text sort of while we were recording saying like, I hope you're all recording this Ricky Gervais opening monologue, and then Max had immediately started jumping on like once we stopped recording on the laptop, and we were kind of, the Judi Dench bit was up, the Apple bit was the first thing we saw.
Yeah.
It seemed like Twitter was losing their minds. I was really excited to go home and watch the extended 5-minute thing because I'd only seen like 3 jokes. So in my mind, I actually thought the whole thing was going to be a flamethrower of like epic proportions. So if anything, if I just watched it with no context, I would have been like, oh, this was like amazing and it pushed boundaries. If anything, because I saw 3 of the sort of most talked about jokes before I even watched the full monologue, like in Ash's office after we were done recording, I almost was like, oh, okay, those were the best bits, you know.
But he did an amazing thing, which was like subvert the audience's expectations. He had a couple of kind of scathing ones, but that weren't really that bad. He threw in a Martin Scorsese height joke, which was very like
That's a silly good one,
innocent softball. And then boom, he'd throw like a knockout punch, and you'd be like, "Holy shit!" And then he ends with the Apple thing, which is just like a silencer.
Yeah.
He had a joke that I thought was interesting about somebody's everybody in Hollywood now that they just do like superhero movies. It's basically your job is to two days a week take steroids and work out or something like that.
And we all know who does that. Yeah.
And he didn't name like I thought that was a weird. I didn't know if he backed out of a joke or whatever. But like, did you guys know? Was he talking about Chris Hemsworth? Was he talking about
no?
Chris
I think that was like so inside, or maybe that was just for some people in the audience or a couple of his buddies at home. That joke didn't work.
No, I was just like, what? Where's he going with that?
Yeah, he's like taking steroids. It's like what? Like yeah.
Anyway,
there was an Epstein killed himself joke that I liked, and implying that a lot of people would typically fly in on an Epstein jet, and they're upset that he's not there.
That was the best part is when he does the kill the Epstein joke. It's like, okay, we've seen that a bunch, but then he goes, okay, I'm sorry, I know he was a lot of your friends. Or, I get that
because he knew there was
amazing.
a groan coming.
Yes.
So he had the after joke prepared.
Yeah. Also the Leo, it's like dating young people, and he's like then he had like a Prince Andrew joke. Related to that.
See, I thought he should have got out on the Leo joke. Just because, but I mean, I know he's Ricky and he's going to push things. But like, so he does the Leo joke about the date becoming too old for him by the end of the film, which was funny. And I killed earlier when I said it.
That's
by the
so
way,
funny.
guys.
Even saying like, even Prince Andrew was like Leo. Like that's funny.
It's like you're pushing 50, mate, or whatever, or son. You're pushing 50, son, or whatever. It's like
that's good.
It was fine. But one is like a joke that's comfortably like, yeah, Leo does date 21-year-olds, and Leo's in his 40s. Prince Andrew's like they've accused him of being a pedophile. You know what I mean? So it's like there is a line by tying Leo to Prince Andrew that is just like, ooh, that's what Ricky wants to do. For me, I'm like, if I'm Leo and I'm sitting in that crowd, I give the laugh and the hat nod, and then I'm like, wait a second, are you implying I'm a pedophile now? You know what I mean? Which made me feel uncomfortable, which I think Ricky wants to do, and some people would find very funny. Yeah.
Do you think that Ricky goes to the after party and everyone's like loving his ass? Like, what do you think that like the reaction is after the awards? Like,
I think people are kissing his ass.
I think they all kiss everybody's ass at those things. Everyone's probably all jazzed and like you said, like whatever party he walks through, everyone's going to tell him he's a genius.
Yeah. Fine. Let's get to the Rob interview now.
Well, let's give Rob some context.
Yeah. So Rob, you're going to hear about how we met on this podcast, but he flew up to surprise Ashley, and because Ash and Rob are great friends, and it was her birthday this weekend, and you should have seen her reaction when she saw him sitting at the restaurant with the rest of her friends, and he's the best hang, and literally for like the last 2 nights, Rob, Dan, and I have just like hung out in Dan's apartment like we're like college roommates or something, and his job is super interesting. Sorry,
I love literally. I always love when people say literally. Just imagining you guys hanging out. Sorry, I cannot not
like
laugh
on a
when
chin-up
someone
bar?
says literally. Yeah.
But I'd heard some of these stories because whenever I hang out with Rob, I'm just asking him questions about the Killers. So I didn't know how it was going to play, but then after the interview was done, Eric was like, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. So
It's fascinating.
He's got a cool job. I mean, the guy literally travels on tour with the Killers and the Arkells. And so he's like, he's close with those guys, and it's such a fascinating creative job. And that's what we do on this podcast, or at least we used to a lot more, is it's like we talk to creative people and sort of figure out how they do their job, why they do their job. And I think he has one of the more interesting sort of gigs and setups. One thing that it was a bummer was he actually brought a couple stories he could tell. And so he kind of had his like phone out, as you'll hear. But then after we stopped rolling, he then starts telling this story. And I was like, was this one of your stories that you were going to tell? He's like, yeah. He's like, we just didn't get to it. And it was a hilarious story about him and Brandon going to see Bruce Springsteen's Broadway show and then ended up backstage with George Lopez. It was such a funny story, and it never made the episode. So
Yeah.
and
What happens with him and George Lopez? You can't tell us.
it's not my story to tell. He's got all the beats down. It's a very funny story, but I don't know why. I mean, that probably just makes the listener more annoyed that you don't get to hear it. But you do get to hear some other good stuff. He's got a great story about Brandon and hanging out with Liam Gallagher and some other cool things. And
So, do we go to the interview and then after the interview we break out the scales?
Yeah.
oh my god!
Well, I only brought one scale, but
Okay. No, let's do the scales right now. I have to go pee super bad. I also want to lose
that's
that.
such a trick.
We'll just okay. Wait a second. Okay, so you're gonna go to the bathroom. Okay, Shane. Let's just talk quickly about this. Did you think him peeing will actually help his weight count?
Yeah, it's the ultimate trick, and Max knows what he's doing.
I drank like 3 Perriers and a fucking...
Go do it. No need for the language.
Saucy. Wow. He does need that pee.
Let's make predictions.
Oh shit.
Like even on myself.
Erica,
here.
are you getting in on this or what?
Well, I don't want or need to lose any weight,
Yeah,
but
you're
I
good.
would like to gain weight. I want to get jacked this year.
Go the other way.
Yeah. I want to gain muscle. I want to get a 6-pack, and I've never been strong, and I just want to be strong. So
So you're an ectomorph.
what's that?
That is a person who's naturally predisposed to being thin.
Yes.
Very thin. And if anything, you have to work hard to gain weight. I find that a very ideal position to be in. But for a lot of ectomorphs, they don't look at it that way. But I find that's a very rare place to be. A mesomorph is someone who gains weight quickly and loses weight quickly. I would say that's what I am. What do you think you are, Mike?
I think traditionally I've been someone that like if I've wanted to lose weight, I can do it pretty quickly. Like if I show like a modicum of discipline, it seems like my body cooperates with me pretty well. And I think in general, like I don't have great eating habits. I enjoy the pints of beer as well.
Yes, you and I both.
I feel like I feel guilty sometimes because I think I have a good metabolism. Like for me, like I would think for the way that I consume food and how much sort of fast food I eat and stuff like that, I should probably be a lot bigger. Although I know I'm not healthy right now. It's like the right shirt, the right bomber, you can get away with some shit. You know what I mean? Physically. If when I've had like a couple weeks, like if we've gone to like Cuba and we're hooping all week and I'm just kind of eating rice and hot sauce, it's like I'll lose it immediately.
And
So-
you also, and correct me if I'm wrong, do not gain weight typically in your face. That's
No.
not where your fat deposits first.
No.
You can hide it better than maybe other people.
Definitely, yeah. Max is back.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, Shane is busting out the scale.
Predictions on what you think you're going to win.
Max also took his shoes off. Have
Oh,
you
of
done this
course.
before?
I would have to do that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
Shane-
because sometimes if you're wearing sneakers versus boots,
Sure.
And I'm wearing a very heavy sweater right
yeah, take off your sweater.
Are we gonna get down to our underwear for this weigh-in?
That'd be hilarious. All right, do you want me to go first?
Okay, so Max is going. Wait! Don't.
He wants you to guess at your weight.
What do you guess your weight
I
is?
think it's 180.
Okay, let's see. That's a very good weight.
What?
Wow.
That's not. This must be a different scale.
Likely story. It's
That's crazy. This is way different than my scale at home then, because I'm 180 at home. And actually, I weighed myself yesterday at my parents' house. I was 178.
Someone needs a new scale. This is a digital top of the line scale.
I have a digital scale at home, and I was 180 yesterday.
Well, you might want to get it recalibrated.
And I had a normal scale at home, like at my parents' house, I was 178. All right, let's go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
So you are
I want to go.
Mike. Let's see, Mike. What do you think you weigh?
I would think that I'm at 170. That would be my
Okay.
guess.
So if Mike is way off too, then we might be more suspicious of the scale. And you're wearing a sweatshirt, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have a T-shirt on underneath.
No. And I don't want to gross out the people in the office. Do I have to? Whoa! See, I think it's 6 pounds off.
I hope this is the case. Okay. See, now I'm very scared. Erica.
I think I'm like 170. Because I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go home today and weigh myself on the thing I've been using for the last year and a half, and then and show you what I weigh.
Erica, you stand.
I weighed in at 176. It feels a little heavy for me, but nothing would surprise me. But if Max, you are saying it's a little bit off, that
I
also
literally
would-
weighed myself yesterday at my parents, and it was 177.
Wow.
So that's
What do
like
you think
10
you weigh?
pounds difference.
I'm probably 117.
Wow.
Oh, okay, Erica's accurate.
'That's an average post Christmas.
Okay.
Maybe you guys
Here
have
I
the
go.
same scale.
I'm very scared right now.
What
Take off
what's
your thing.
guess,
I
Shane?
am going to take off my thing, but I just want to say I pushed it to the limits a little bit on this trip, knowing I wanted to be a little plumper for this. So I'm going to say, and I'm humiliated to say this, but I think I'm 197.
Right.
And if I get to 200, that's really going to be scary.
I would be
for me.
shocked if you're at 200, to be honest. Okay.
I got to take this off.
Yeah, take it off. Take off your hat too.
Here we go. Moment of truth.
Oh my God!
Wow.
This scale is broken as shit. This scale, oh shit!
Shane weighed in at 199.2.
Whoa! This has to be broken. Let me try it one more time. Let me move the position of it.
Okay, a coffee has been spilled.
Oh my God!
Listen, broken scale.
So you were 186?
I'm 180. I don't believe that scale.
Okay.
So if we have if the scale's a little off, what does that mean for us?
Well, my goal is to get to. Max left the room in a huff.
He doesn't abide broken scales.
My goal is to get to 185.
Shane's goal is to get down to 185.
That's 15 pounds. 14 pounds.
Yeah.
And what's the time
But
limit?
my ideal weight is closer to 180, but realistically I would be so thrilled and happy if I got to 185.
I will say, like we were talking about, what did you say? It's a mesomorph, Shane, when you can gain and lose quickly.
Yeah.
I ate a half a Domino's pizza and a burrito from Burrito Boys yesterday. That was my diet yesterday. So maybe that's helping, or that was contributing to my weigh-in.
And are you happy with this weigh-in? Because it's always harder for me because they say each inch equals 5 pounds in the height disparity. So I don't even know what's big or small for a person who's a little bit shorter.
It's big for me. I'm 5'7", maybe like a little tiny bit, but I think 176, if it is 176. Even 170, I feel, to me, I know I'm carrying too much weight. Like, I should probably be, honestly, like 155, 158.
So what is your goal for this challenge?
Maybe that's a crazy thought. Like, maybe that's like, depression weight. I don't know. I just want to feel healthy. I just, like, if we're saying we want to drop 10 pounds,
right.
I think I can
I
drop
just
10
mean,
pounds.
like... Too, because I was getting messages from people saying, "Oh, weight is not a good measurement for health." I agree with that, but I'm also not in like some super muscular program right now where I feel healthy. I know when I'm at a healthy weight, and for me, that's about 185. So that's why I choose that weight, not just because I'm trying to be too skinny or anything. 185 is actually a healthy weight for me.
My theory is if I drop 10, I know I'm eating healthier just by the very nature of sort of my choices. I won't,
So that would be 160.
That'd be if I'm 170.
166.
I'd be 166. Would be dropping 10 pounds according to this scale. But Max seems pretty convinced that the scale's
okay.
off.
Well, I think I could do. I think in my mind I was like 179, 180. But here's 186. But 175, 174. That's when I feel like kind of good and trim. 177 is like my normal. 180 is like okay. It's been the holidays or whatever.
Yep.
So. For my scale at home, if I can get down to 173 would be awesome.
We're using this scale.
But we're using this one? Okay, 170, whatever the math is there then, like 178, 179.
Okay.
So like 8 pounds I'm looking at.
Because I do think this scale is accurate,
Cool.
especially after Erica. So when are we...
But maybe she has the same version of the scale. That's what I'm saying.
My scale that I typically use isn't digital. It's like a little roller thing. I think those are more accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the roller thing that I had at my parents' house yesterday, which I did weigh myself yesterday, was 178 or something.
When are we going to weigh ourselves again?
Okay, that's good. What's today? Jan 6th?
Feb 6th?
1 month to drop to get to our. I'll go to one.
No, I'm not saying like just to see our progress.
check-in.
We'll do a check-in. Like we don't have to be at our goal then.
Let's do 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks?
Well, no, I'm just saying, just
Okay,
as a
just as a
check-in.
check-in. Okay, I'm a mesomorph.
Well, we'll do like a full month
Okay,
thing,
I'm a
but we'll
mesomorph.
check in halfway through. So you don't have to like achieve your like if we're trying to do whatever your goal is in a month.
Yep.
The month is a month enough time to try to.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, there's probably some health experts that are like, you guys are fucking idiots.
You're doing a disservice to people.
But we'll do a check in halfway through.
Let's do it.
So we'll do a check in 2 weeks. And then with you don't have to have reached your goal, but just to see if you're heading in the right direction.
I'd like to be. I'll be down. I'd like to be in by Feb 6th. If this is accurate, it's 176 right now. I'd like to be down to 165.
Cool.
Yeah.
10 pounds?
That's
In a
12.
month?
I'm down to
12
I want
pounds?
11.
8
Sorry.
pounds.
Yeah, I'm at 170. Was that 176?
I think so, yeah.
So
So what is your guys' plan of action?
Just eating better.
More
Eating
liquor,
better?
less beer. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to cut out a lot of bread, less beer.
I think it's sugar too.
Sugar.
Actually, I've been really good because the New York Times had this like cut sugar out of your diet for 2020 thing, and they're like a 7-day challenge. My whole family's done it like this week, and basically it's like there's a lot of sugar in bread. Obviously, it's like I'm the king of like I'll go to the store and get some gummy bears, but I just haven't done that in the last like 5 days. So that's good.
All right. Well, thanks to Rob Loud for appearing on this episode. And are we throwing to Rob, or was this part happening after?
We're
the
throwing to
interview?
Rob right now.
We're throwing to Rob. Yeah. All right. Let's do it.
Cool.
Super pod. So we're just going to jump right into this because we were sitting here with Rob Loud, our friend. One of the things that Max always talks about, which is cool, is like our friends have like a myriad of really interesting jobs. Rob is no exception because Rob, you have a very cool job. You're a photographer, obviously.
Yes.
But I mean, there's a lot of photographers, and it's hard to, I think, for people to sort of have steady work, to be acclaimed, to sort of be, occupy this rare area that you do. You make most of your living on tour with the Killers.
Yes. And
Well, before we get
Arkells.
to that, it's a special thing because Rob is not just our friend; he's a bit of an inspiration, really, to us all.
Wow!
And he surprised manager Ash. He was basically the surprise for manager Ash's birthday, which happened
she's hugging
yesterday.
Rob right now.
Ash is here. We're recording on a Sunday
We're
night.
recording this on a Sunday because Rob flies back to Brooklyn tomorrow. So we were like, you know what, you're in town. We actually saw you at the party last night. I was like, we got to come on the podcast. Because you listen to this podcast.
I
which
do
is
listen
crazy.
to it. Yeah, it's how I keep up with you guys.
So basically, as we know, manager Ash pulled off a miracle on my birthday a couple months ago.
She delivered Nick Nurse.
She delivered Nick Nurse, and then I was like, shit, okay, I have to deliver for Ash now. And I was like, what could we do? Because Ash doesn't want for much. She just likes her friends and cool experiences, and you can't really buy her much, I don't think. And so I was like, okay, let's go through Ash's favorite people. Like number 1, Brandon Flowers. Number 2, Harry Styles. Number 3, Rob Loud.
Wow.
And
I'll take it.
We shot for the first 2.
You tried.
We did not hear back. But then I texted Rob, and the great thing about your job is it's a bullshit job, and no one's on tour right now. And I say
It's
that
true.
with all the affection in
I
the
get
world.
it, yeah.
And I was like, Rob, do you want to come up? And we could surprise Ash. You'll be like the gift. You are the gift. And that's what happened. So you got your plane ticket. You came to Toronto yesterday. You flew into Billy Bishop.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
My favorite airport.
Explain.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's nice.
Explain you getting to the airport. This is funny, actually.
Well, okay, so I travel a lot, obviously, and I usually don't have a car, but I happen to have a car this week. And so
Whose car?
It's my parents' car, who live somewhat locally.
Okay.
So I'm driving.
live in Brooklyn.
I live in Brooklyn,
Yep.
and I was flying out of Newark. So I'm driving to Newark, and like 10 minutes in, I'm like, shit, I'm not returning to Newark. So I'm gonna have my car in New Jersey. So I had to turn around, get an Uber to Newark. And
if you're not familiar with New York City geography, you have to basically drive across Manhattan, basically,
Yes.
to get to Newark.
Yeah.
But you're flying back to LaGuardia?
LaGuardia, yeah. But luckily
Yeah.
it was a Saturday morning, so I got there no problem. Although I almost missed it. I was the last person on the flight. I was oh, Mr. Loud, are you Mr. Loud? You're the last one on the plane. And then I hear her saying, okay, the last passenger is boarding. And I was the guy that,
Were you
gets
getting
on the
looks
plane.
from the other passengers?
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
You
I
just
think
didn't
it was
pay
I
attention.
don't think it was that bad.
Right.
But yeah, so I made it. Although I will say, your birthday 2 years ago, you got 2 of your 3 because you came to a Killers concert and you came backstage, and then you got a picture with Brandon. And my favorite part was Ash and I were wearing basically the same jacket, and Brandon was like, "Give me your jacket." So they're kind of twinning.
Yeah, we'll have to put this
Oh.
photo up
Absolutely.
on our Instagram.
It's a great
because
photo.
it's basically like a red plaid jacket.
I remember this photo.
It's
Yeah.
kind of an iconic photo of Ash
Yeah.
and Brandon Flowers.
It really made my day, to be honest.
It was so cool. And also, it made me very happy because he's so svelte and trim. And I go back there. He's devouring pizza after the show. So I was like, okay, he's not juicing or anything like that. He's just
no.
he's like the rest of us.
He's a regular
yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
He crushes food on tour.
Oh, man.
But he works out.
Yeah, he's always at a 2-hour workout every night. He's running around that stage.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of active things like hikes and beach runs and things like
Oh,
that.
we'll get into that whole lifestyle. But first, just Ash, if you want to jump on the mic for a second, how did you receive this Rob Loud as the gift?
So delighted.
Yeah.
Rob's best. But it was very cute. I think you were taking a photo of me as I
Yes.
came into your face. It was kind of obscured, but it could only be Rob.
It was sort of, by design.
It was really nice for me because basically we had a little dinner last night, and she goes, "Oh, hey," and she probably had a sense of who was going to be there, but she kind of scans, "Oh, hey," and then I can see the moment where she realizes Rob Loud's here, and she's like, "What?" And then it was like me seeing Nick Nurse was there.
Yeah.
It was like that kind of moment.
Oh, man.
But you basically you flew into the city airport in Toronto, and then you walked to Mike Vierman's apartment building.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because you're staying with our friend Dan Hamilton, or at his place. I think he's hanging at his girlfriend's or whatever this week.
Right.
But yeah.
It was
how do you like the building? We're happy to have
Well,
you.
I mean, I've been hearing so much about it, but to backtrack a little, I've never walked from an airport to a destination.
that's the beauty of Billy Bishop.
I mean, I could have took a cab,
Yeah.
but I didn't have much stuff with me. I'm like, the novelty of being able to walk alone, I was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't that cold, so
No, it was nice.
And it was good. I couldn't be into Toronto until a little later. So I was like, Dan, Rob's going to be there. Can you just like entertain him? And so, but I didn't realize that Rob and Dan have only hung out one time, and that was Coachella.
Yeah, Dan was in Coachella though.
Yeah, like, and
but maybe
so,
you guys didn't talk all that much.
Well, there was a lot of you, you know.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I was sort of working as well, so we definitely didn't have really much one-on-one time.
But then for the next 4 hours at Stack Marketplace in King Taps, you just got to know Dan
Yeah, it was
Hamilton
great.
very well.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Dan's great for that. Dan's great for that. But yeah, so we celebrated Ash's birthday last night, and I feel like everybody went for it. We're recording this on a Sunday night.
Everybody showed up with the nut. Fuck the nut.
Oh, the nut did not show up.
Sick. Oh, give me a break.
Yeah. Ash just waved her middle finger in the air.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to keep that in?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I got there and he wasn't there. I was actually shocked. But hey, we had Rob Loud, so
We have Rob Lights. But anyway, so let's rewind a couple years.
let's go back to the start. How we got to know Rob.
Yeah, because your life in the last 3 years sort of has a lot to do with one fateful weekend in British Columbia.
I mean, totally, yeah.
So I'll give a little backstory. Is that the Arkells were playing Pemberton Music Festival, and
Rest in
being
peace.
Rest in peace. Yeah, the crafty gang that we are, we reached out to the promoter saying, "Do you guys have any like in-house photographers that we could use just to like steal for our set and get the photos immediately?" Rob, you happen to be the in-house photographer, which to this day kind of confuses me because you're a Brooklyn-based photographer.
Yeah.
This is a festival outside of Vancouver. Why were you the photographer for this?
So the promoter, or I guess the production, was based in New Orleans.
Okay.
And so my friend, Mark Austin,
Yeah.
who lives in Houston, worked, or had been working with that production company for years, and basically was tasked to assemble the photo team. So there was 4 of us.
And they flew you out there.
Yeah. And that was like my 3rd year, I think, at
Okay.
Pemberton. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we meet Rob. The backstage area in Pemberton is really interesting. It's like they have these yurts for all the artists backstage, and it's very picturesque. If you've ever been to Pemberton, it's like these beautiful, like hilly, forest, mountainy area. And you do some photos with us. You take some amazing photos of the show. Lights happens to be there that day, so you
Yep.
meet Lights there. And
Lights also there last night.
And the funny thing about you, Rob, is that like you don't do anything. You're not like trying to take over every room you're in, but you're just a very like likable guy in a very subtle kind of way. It's sort of hard to describe, but we're like, that Rob Loud guy's really nice. And did we hang out much after the show?
I don't think so, because I probably then like was on to my next assignment.
Do you have any recollection of the hang with us that afternoon?
I remember. I remember like stretching. Someone's stretching.
Probably Nick.
Yeah. I don't. Not really. I wish I
Man,
had
you
a
guys
better
are such
answer.
a fun band.
Yeah.
Really party.
They were stretching.
But then the next day, you were shooting the headliner, which was the Killers. And as per protocol in Killers Camp, which is protocol for many headliners or bigger acts, is if the festival wants to put any photos on Instagram or anything, you need to get approval from the band. So you end up hanging after the show with Brandon Flowers for the first time.
Yeah.
Just going through all the photos, right? So walk us through that night, because that's kind of cool.
So, as a festival photographer, we were shooting every band. So I had never shot the Killers, and I was actually assigned to shoot Pearl Jam. So I asked my buddy Holder, do you want to trade, basically? He's like, Pearl Jam's my favorite band. Like, absolutely. So that's how it kind of all...
Wow, another sort of very pivotal moment.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if that didn't happen, because I'd shot Pearl Jam before, and like typically it's only 2 songs, like the first 2 songs, and the Killers were giving us the entire set, including like on-stage access, which is sort of somewhat unusual for like a headliner.
Better gig too, right? For you, because you can
Right.
a lot more to work with.
Exactly. So, but at first they were saying that I was going to have to ride in the van with them back to Whistler to go through the photos. I'm like, that's a pain in the ass. Like, but whatever. But it ended up that we went through the pictures after in the dressing room. So my laptop was on an ironing board, and Brandon comes in, and so back it up a little bit. My friend Mark Austin from Houston was getting my memory cards, running them to our editor to bring it back. So as soon as the show was over, like our best 50 photos or whatever were ready to go. So Brandon comes in, computer's on the ironing board, flipping through them. And he's like, these are good. You ever tour with anyone? And are you local? Where are you from? And he's like, all right, where's he going with this? And he's like, do you want to come on tour with us?
Hold on a second. So you basically hang out with him, for all of 7 minutes, and he
Yeah.
just likes your vibe and likes your photos?
Yeah.
Like, he must have been pretty struck by the work.
Well, there was one photo that he really loved that certainly helped. it also helped because he said, "Are you local?" And Pemberton is kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I'm in New York, and he was like, "Oh, that's interesting." So that was the first thing I was like, what's interesting about that? But then they were playing in
New Jersey, right?
New Jersey, Atlantic City, and then Toronto at Way Home. I think maybe 2 Toronto shows, whatever it was. So somewhat local to New York. So I think automatically the wheels are turning that this could maybe work out. So they brought me out the next weekend sort of for a tryout, basically, which is sort of ironic that we're sitting in Toronto right now.
Yeah.
Because that's they had me stay an extra day to like go to a Blue Jays game for like no real reason. I was like, that seems like a pretty good sign that I'm going to get like the invite back. And then there was never really any discussion
So
after
wait,
that.
you went to the Blue Jays game with the band?
With the band. And
why did they go to the Blue Jays? They just wanted to...
They just wanted to go. Yeah, they stayed. I'm not sure why they stayed the extra day, but yeah, they had like a nice suite set up, and Ronnie, the drummer, brought his dog, which was sort of a rarity for the people working at the Blue Jays game. There were a lot of sweet attendants coming in to see the dog.
Are they big baseball fans, the guys in the Killers? Or is it just something to do in the city?
Yeah, I think they like going to games and like doing activities. I wouldn't say they're huge baseball fans.
Right.
The Jays are probably doing well then too.
Yeah, I don't recall, but this is 2016, so.
Oh yeah.
So basically, they're kind of testing you out. And I think this happens a lot of the time with full-time touring acts who can afford to sort of like have these little dates with whether it's
like creative
photographer
people,
or creative people. You'd be like, because there's a lot of talented people out there, but a lot of it is like, are you a good hang or not? Is this somebody who I feel comfortable snapping photos of me in the dressing room behind the scenes and I can trust? Because that's some pretty coveted access, and they want to be able to know that you're the right kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm around their family, and we were in such close quarters all the time. So if I'm like a pain in the ass, or someone that like doesn't know when to maybe put the camera down, or just like be respectful, and I'm kind of representing the band in a lot of situations. So yeah, I think it's more that than the actual photography.
Yeah,
good hang.
The good hang, yeah. I mean, across the board.
Were you a Killers fan, or was it just that you didn't want to do Pearl Jam again? Like what was the catalyst for the switch for you? Just helping your buddy out that wanted to do Pearl Jam?
No, I mean it was totally selfish. I wanted to shoot the whole show, and I know it's rare that photographers are given access to shoot them. And I actually was a fan. Like I had been, I'd seen them a couple times before. I've seen Brandon on his solo tour. We kind of joked that 2 of sort of his least favorite shows I was at.
Really?
Sort of. He was like, "You were at that show?" He's like, "It was horrible. Like, what were you doing there?" I won't say what shows. I thought they were great, but yeah, I was always a fan of them. Not so much Hot Fuss. I mean, it's great, of course.
You don't have to get into each record.
No, but Sam's sound is what like I did it for me, and I was like, damn, this band, I'm like into this band.
Well, the reason I ask is because I wonder, like, for some people, like that moment. And I know obviously you're a professional photographer, you're covering the festival, but like knowing you're gonna have to go through these photos with Brandon, and not even thinking it's gonna lead to the opportunity that led to. Was there like an excitement or a nervousness? Or are you like, this is just the job?
I've been doing photography for about 15 years now.
Yep.
And a lot of it was very celebrity based.
Okay.
I mean, that's how I was kind of making my living in New York. I was like shooting for Getty Images and a lot of like events and concerts, and so going through photos with like people wasn't as big of a deal. Maybe I mean it was awesome, but it wasn't like holy shit.
Just the job.
So
just the job,
basically they get you on tour pretty quickly. We're like, are you available for a bunch of these like one-off festivals?
Yeah.
And so what did the next like 6 months or 9 months look like after that?
That year was sort of slow. They
Okay.
were sort of off album cycle. So we kind of did like a handful here and there. They did a 10th anniversary of Sam's Town, like residency thing in Vegas, which was cool, at Sam's Town Casino. And then the next year, that's when it got heavy. Did like 37 countries, like 120 dates. It was kind of jumped in.
But that was also the year you met the Champagne Boys.
It is.
Not to talk about ourselves here.
No, that's what you're doing.
But basically, so I don't know, like Ash, we how do we keep in touch with Rob? Like, what was the?
Oh, from Pemberton.
Yeah.
I was also remembering too, like we spoke to you at Way Home. Like the Killers played here, and I saw you at a thing. Like we'd seen you more, but then we needed someone to shoot the pod.
Yeah, so basically the pod had a sponsorship with Top Man.
Oh, right.
And we
Yeah,
needed
yeah,
to
yeah.
do some glam shots because we were
right,
recording live
yeah.
from Coachella.
This was Coachella.
This
yeah,
was
yeah.
Coachella
Yeah, yeah,
2017, so this was like the following summer, following
Yeah.
spring really. And so we're like, okay, what's an opportunity to hang with Rob Loud, get these photos done for Top Man because we were doing some like live podcasting. This was kind of in the early days of the pod. And we worked it out so you'd kind of be the Arkells tour photographer, but also double dip and do stuff with the
Right,
pod.
yeah.
This is like a manager Ash brainchild move.
Yes.
And so we basically were like, we can have our cake and eat it too. We can hang with Rob. He's going to take amazing photos. We're like just podcast dudes, but we're like dressed up in all this like
put us all this Top Man gear.
Top
I
Man
remember
gear.
Shane was wearing like jorts at some point.
Yeah,
it was
it's
like the most
hilarious.
hipstery, weird clothes. We're like, fuck it.
And on that weekend, it was like the second weekend where basically all the Champagne Boys came down.
We all, yeah.
And we had
There's
a
a lot
house
of
in
you.
Palm Springs. And basically, like, Rob is kind of... And
You were staying at the house
You were
with us.
staying
I
at the
was
house.
staying in the house.
So basically, you met like 12 dudes that weekend.
Yeah, in one shot.
In one shot.
Yeah.
What do you remember from that weekend?
Well, I also have a pretty big group of friends from back in the day,
Yeah.
and I just find it funny that like the more guys you get together in a room, like the dumber everyone becomes. And so I like could relate. So like I was like I was like an outsider, but like I felt so at home.
It's like, I get these are kind of my
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
And so I just sort of sat back to see how I would, kind of fit in to the group, and the shirts off. I mean, we were in Palm Springs and there was a pool, but
Yeah.
I mean, but the shirts off, I got that thing very quickly. That was, like a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was and like kind of like seeing the different personalities and how, each person kind of plays off each other was quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's an interesting chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you fit in seamlessly, which was great. Because it's like, no, you were the one person that everyone didn't really know was
Right.
staying at the house. And then it was like you were totally down and in.
Yeah,
And it was
I mean,
fun.
and you guys were so accommodating that like you ended up giving me the couch outside to sleep.
By the pool. Remember that.
I will say, I mean, it was partially like it was great. I mean, it was comfortable. I was outside.
Yeah.
Palm Springs.
How did that
like,
even happen? Did we
I
just
think
not
I
have enough rooms?
probably actually chose to do it.
I feel like there was more. You
Yeah,
were like,
yeah.
because Shane and I were sharing a bed. I know that. We
Right,
probably
yeah.
could have fit a third. Next time.
Next
Honestly,
time,
you
yeah.
know, I always think about this. I probably told this anecdote on the pod, but Nick, our bassist, was watching a YouTube tutorial on like how to be a better bass player. He's practicing all the time, and it was a tutorial from like one of the like greatest session bassists of all time. And his basically his one piece of advice was, it's like, look, the most important thing if you want to get work as a creative person, just be a good hang. That's literally, it's like, and he's like, that's how I got lots of work. I'm just a pretty good hang.
Yeah.
Like, lots of great bassists out there, but I can hang and I can like be cool in a room. And I think you'd probably say, like, there's lots of great photographers out there, but it's like, if you can be like, I'll sleep on the couch,
Yeah.
I'll sleep out in a hammock. I kind of know these guys. Like, if you can have that sense, that will get you more gigs than a particular photo or
Yeah.
something. I love that about you.
Yeah, I mean, as like a freelancer, you're working with different people all the time.
Yeah.
So, you kind of have to build a rapport quickly and kind of like read the room. So, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, after Coachella, you're kind of full on Killers mode then for like the
You,
next.
Yeah.
you were in the Killers thing then, because I remember at one point
Yeah.
being drunk. We were all taking like an Uber back from Coachella to Palm Springs, and we were peppering you with like Brandon Flowers questions,
Yes.
like a bunch of little kids in a school bus.
And I still do that to this day.
Yes.
I was doing that last night, literally.
Totally. Well, I love it. I was just out with this band, White Reaper, who I met on Killer Store. They were opening some dates, and so we were like riding around the van, like a Northeast tour in the States, and it's be like, so Rob, there's a lot of like, so Rob, and I'm like, okay, here,
You know it's
like,
coming?
Yeah, here it comes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when the Killers are, yeah.
But like,
that's wild.
explain like what a day in a life of a tour looks like for you. Because you obviously did the Canadian tour with us last February,
Yes.
where you were our guy. We got to poach you for a few weeks, which was amazing.
Yes.
But like, I'm always interested. It's like, okay, like just like the way the Killers like roll and like the amount of sort of crew that's involved. Like, just walk us through a day.
Yeah, I mean, well, it varies like greatly. So if it's an off album cycle year, like it's definitely like a smaller crew. All right, so like say an album cycle when they had like the same set up each night, on buses basically, or the occasional, not occasional, but hotels maybe a couple nights a week, especially if we have like a day off. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar to in Arkells' situation. We wake up on a bus, typically at the venue.
Hotels that you're staying at there are slightly nicer, I'd say. I did visit your Vancouver hotel that one time. It was very, very nice.
Perks of the job.
Yeah.
But you just wake up at the arena, kill time, shoot the show, get on the bus, and leave.
But are you approving photos after every show?
Yeah, so as soon as the show's over, like straight to my computer. They always promise the promoter photos within 30 minutes, which I prefer them to maybe tell them like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because it's never 30 minutes. I go through the photos. I basically pick my favorites, and then the guys will pick their favorites, and we just get those photos out basically.
Is there like an agenda before each? Has Brandon or Ronnie go? Oh, I'm doing to do a thing. Can you try to get me in this angle or whatever?
Yeah. Both of them are always like, just get close, like do whatever you want. And I don't like to be seen on stage, but sometimes you gotta just jump in and do it. I mean, there's a lot of like iconic photos from like the 70s. There's like one of Elton John like wearing like a Dodgers sparkly baseball, uniform, and you could tell like the photographer's. I should know who it is. I'm forgetting, but is so close to him, which is something that I like doing because it brings intimacy. But then you also see the crowd. So I do it a lot when I'm shooting from the stage. So it's like intimate, but there's 30,000 people out there, which is the furthest from intimate. How did I get here? I forget. What am I saying?
Oh, just like if the guys ask for.
Oh,
anything
right,
in particular.
yeah. So a good story with that. So they played headlined Glastonbury Festival in the UK last summer, and I think they felt that the previous time they headlined didn't go like as well as they wanted, even though I'm sure it was amazing. So they really like put a lot into this actual show. So Brandon started doing this cowboy hat thing. The beginning of the song "The Man." They do like this extended intro, and he puts on a cowboy hat, and kind of struts up and gets up on his monitor in front of the stage, and then there's a big confetti explosion. So we're talking about different situations on what to do in this moment, and so I was like ready and very close to him on stage, and I just kept thinking like, don't screw this up, like, and so I just got the shot with him like kind of looking to the side from behind. Cowboy hat and the confetti going off, and it sort of has become like a popular photo.
Yeah. You can say iconic.
Yeah, you can say iconic.
It feels
modest,
if I have to pick an iconic photo that I've taken of, then that's
That's your definitive Brandon Flowers photo.
Of performance wise,
yeah.
There's a lot of photos that people have never seen.
I feel like there's the Killers are kind of underrated in their work ethic and their sense of like kind of rising to the occasion, doing things that are sometimes a little outside the ordinary. So, for instance, like they played a big festival in Scotland, in Glasgow, Transmit Festival. They had headlined that to 30,000 people, and then they went back to King Tut's, which is the first bar they played at. We played there too. It's like a little. It's where actually famously Oasis was discovered. Oh, yeah. It's a little 300 cap venue. So explain that day because I love that.
Yeah, like they love the underplay, as they call it in the biz. A Killers playing in a 300-person room, and so they headlined this festival, and I don't remember if it was a police escort situation, but like we rolled in to the club, and
was it madness? Like had word gotten out?
Yeah, they did announce it like the night before, maybe, or I forget. We knew about it, but I forget exactly how it worked. But yeah, so going from the festival to that. Although the better story though is they were doing a show in between the Austin City Limits weeks because they do like 2 weekends. So they were walking to stage, and I made the joke. Although I feel like no one remembers that I made the joke. Like, where are we playing after? And Brandon was like, set something up. So while he was walking to stage, he didn't know if he was going to do a show after. And
hold on. So who did he say set something up to?
A tour manager.
A tour manager?
Yeah, who is from Toronto.
Yeah, Jeremy, the tour manager. So he just goes, he's about to walk on stage, and he just goes to Jeremy, set something up?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's so cool.
So then they immediately get on the phone with their booker, who starts like kind of putting ideas together. One of the guys we work with, Cinnamon, is from Austin, so he's like kind of throwing out like the good idea, like or good authentic Austin places.
Yeah.
And they end up booking Continental Club, which is like a really classic rock and roll club in Austin. So at like 11 p.m. they tweet Continental Club, doors at 12, show at 1, whatever.
First come, first serve, whatever.
Yeah. And that is like 150 cap.
Wow.
So that was like true madness.
Yeah.
And that was just the excitement of not because like the crew, like no one knew that they were going to play this show, so they had to get all the gear over. Actually, I think everything was like kind of backline, so they're borrowing like like shitty amps, like whatever is there.
Because in the business, it's like there's some bands, and I understand, who go like, no, if we're going to play a show, we want our in-ear monitors, we need our own gear, we need our own techs, we need to do a sound check. This needs to be perfect for us to put on our best show. But with the Killers, it's like, okay, we have that for our big shows and most of our shows, but occasionally just give us a couple of guitars and we'll fucking kill it. And that's what they did.
That is what they did.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I've seen, I guess, maybe like 5, like under like 300 or 400 person room shows, which is amazing.
Would you say working so closely with the band that you've like, is it like now a friendship?
I mean, for sure, yes, but I also need to remember, or do take into consideration that it is a job, and they're ultimately my bosses. So, it very much feels like a friendship, but at the end of the day, they're my employers.
Yeah.
So which is the lines are pretty blurred.
If someone were to ask you to describe sort of like Brandon and Ronnie's personalities sort of behind the scenes, or what we don't see in interviews, or sort of what our ideas of them are like, what would you say? Start with Brandon, I guess.
Well, I guess like what you were kind of saying about them being hard workers is like, he cares a lot and he works really hard and takes a lot of things into consideration, Yeah,
well, like when Tom Petty passed,
yeah,
like that night they were playing Austin City Limits that weekend, and he learned. Or I'm sure he knew the songs, but like they played 2 Tom Petty songs at the show. Like, and they've done that on a few other occasions where it's like, okay, what is the right thing to do in this moment, and let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, like even they're doing an LA show, like a radio show, where it's like a bunch of bands are playing at the Forum in LA, and Morrissey had to cancel last minute, which I think he does somewhat regularly. But so they like learned a Morrissey song. And they absolutely crushed it. So like, there's probably a bunch of fans that like were pretty bummed that they couldn't see Morrissey, so they like learned the song, and like they do that stuff all the time. Like, I think it was a Voodoo Fest in New Orleans. Muse got rained out the night before, so they learned a Muse song and played a Muse song the next night. I forget what song it was.
That's cool.
But it was incredible. Mm-hmm. They're always in it. It's like 3 hours before the show. Like, okay, group text goes out. All right, learn this song, and then like they're rehearsing it, and it's like.
Yeah,
incredible.
That's awesome.
Is there like is there an energy, like what kind of like are they excitable people? You know what I mean, before a show, or are they low key? Like, I'm trying to get a sense of what the vibe is like, sort of before you guys walk out there and do your thing.
Yeah, I mean, as it gets closer to the show, I think the nerves start, kind of hit. I think it's like an anxious energy to like just get out there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, and to finish the question you asked previously. Brandon is right now it's just Brandon and Ronnie that are sort of the original 4 that are touring. Both great dudes. Both Ronnie's kind of like what you'd expect. He's got a kind of a little goofy.
Mm-hmm. It comes out in the show.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a goofy guy, but like he likes to like be silly and like mess around and make jokes, and and Brandon likes to like laugh at them. But yeah, I really couldn't say enough good things about
one
them.
of my favorite moments from the show that was mentioned or off the top of the podcast for Ash's birthday 2 Januaries ago was someone had a sign saying, "Can I play drums?"
Yeah.
And what was the song?
Reasons Unknown.
Reasons Unknown. And basically, Brandon's like, "All right, let's do it." Calls the guy up on stage. Ronnie gives him the drum kit, and the guy crushes it.
It went viral, I think.
And it was, and everybody was, and I was like, is he for real? Is this a plan?
Everyone thinks it's a bit.
Everyone thinks it's a bit, and I was like, no, I think it's real. And then people were like, Max, you're an idiot. How you're the first person to plant a bit, but I was like, no, something about it felt sincere.
Yeah.
And then you said it was totally legit.
Yes.
And we asked Brandon after the show, I'm like, did you know, like, what would happen if it went badly? He's like, I don't know. I was like, you didn't think about that? Like, and because sometimes it has gone badly.
Yeah, so it's become a thing. So they've done it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like 2 or 3 times I can remember where immediately Ronnie just went over. He was like, kind of gave the, I don't know, how can I describe this motion? Like
the cut it.
Cut it, yeah. Like, get off the stage. Like, like they did not know how to play the drums.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
not even close. And it's like, come on, man. Like you're just wasting everyone's time. Like
Yeah.
I get it. Like you want to come up on stage. Like who doesn't? But like, so and there's been a few that aren't that great. Everyone's always really fast because they're so excited and so nervous. So the song is like significantly
Double time.
fast. Everyone's like laughing, looking around, and like finally someone's like kind of got to do like to slow it down a little.
Slow down, relax.
But yeah, there's been some really amazing. This one guy, he comes up, and I was behind the drum riser because I'm kind of usually in a position because I want to get good photos of potentially like the greatest moment of these people's lives.
Yeah.
So I want to get great photos of them. So I'm behind the drum riser, and he comes like, "Hey Rob, send me some photos." I'm like, "Get up there and play first, okay?" Like,
Oh, the guys.
yeah, and it's funny because we're all sort of like visible nowadays, like with social media. So like it's the fact he was like, "Hey Rob," like just like
He knew who you
really
were.
knew who I was, and it turned out he's the drummer for The Fillers, which is like
Killers
the
are
foremost
Killers
cover band.
Yeah, right.
So funny.
Yeah, and he was great. Yeah, he did a good job. They've planted a couple times like friends. Like one was Ronnie's drum teacher, like growing up.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool.
The band White Reaper again. They brought them up, and Brandon even said, "I'm going to bring up my best friends." And there's twins in the band, so they brought both of them up in their hometown, at Louisville, which was like really an amazing moment for them. It was awesome.
I didn't know that. That's so
yeah,
cool.
and then like the drummer from I forget the band, but yeah.
It's cool. Do you have any sort of definitive anecdotes you tell about sort of your life on the road, or to give us a sense of what it's like? Are you looking into your phone for notes right now?
Yeah, because when I get asked this question, it's like one of those things where you just kind of go blank.
I like that. That's a level of preparation. It's like I want to come with stories.
Yeah, I mean,
These are
because
them.
the last time I did something like this, I like gave the worst stories, and then afterwards, I'm like, why didn't I like tell that story? Well, I mean, I guess like the one story I like. I mean, it's funny because you come across like a lot of different people. Actually, this isn't even on the list, but I just thought of it, and I think I could tell this story because it was in the British tabloids. But Prince Harry was at a show. And I guess I had met him before, and he's a fan. And so I kind of walked into backstage, and I see a guy like kind of tussling Brandon's kid's hair, and I just like instinctively like took a picture, and then like immediately like next snap back, like look at me, and I'm like, oh, that's Prince Harry. So I'm like, my bad, dude. I'm like, don't worry, no one will ever see these photos. And they're like, no, that's cool. Like you can take pictures, just like don't put them anywhere.
Yeah.
And then the tabloids all like the paparazzi or look like paparazzi photos were like blasted everywhere that he was there. So, but the photos are still yet to be seen on my hard drive.
Has anyone seen them besides you?
Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah,
Because I sent them to him.
yeah. It's funny. Have you and Brandon ever disagreed, strongly on a photo where you're like, "This must be seen," and he's like, "Fuck that."
In the moment, yes, but then he's like, no, because of this, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Oh, his reason
He's like
always
always
makes
right, yeah,
Right,
and he's he goes through them so quickly, and he's like almost always spot on. I mean, but then there's been times where I've won, where I'm like, come on, man, like that's, and he's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a collaborative thing,
Yeah.
Sometimes I've done like the sort of approval process of people, and it's like I have no say. They're just picking the ones that they like the best. But this is definitely more of a collaborative. Like when he's flipping through, like I'm typically like over his shoulder.
The other part of the job, which probably doesn't get as much like public attention when it comes to like any band the size of the Killers, are these sort of like funny one-offs that you guys have done, which are like private events, or like for instance, like you were on, because you share this on social media, so we can talk about like you were on a private jet going to the Apple campus in Cupertino to do a show with like the Killers were playing for Apple employees.
Right, yeah.
But I feel like they've played like in the Middle East, and they've played various like birthday parties that like. Is there anything there that you could talk about that is particularly memorable?
Like we just did a one-off in Abu Dhabi. Like that was pretty insane. I left Thursday night, Thanksgiving, in the States, and I was home by Monday afternoon.
And what was the show?
A 13-hour
Wow.
flight. The F1 race.
Private jet.
No.
Right.
Yeah, no. We flew commercial.
Yeah.
We had to, like the rest of us, or the rest of them. But It was weird too because everyone was so jet lagged and we were only there for a couple of days, so like you never really got on a schedule. So like the whole thing just felt like a dream. Like like swimming in the Persian Gulf and like we did this like camel ride thing in the desert and then the show and then we were on a plane and then I was home. Like it doesn't really feel real.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely like. So when I get like the schedule, sometimes I'm like what? Like Abu Dhabi, like one show, like okay.
When you were saying you were working as a photographer for 15 years now, and you're doing Getty Image stuff, so probably like red carpet stuff, other sort of like. Did you think, tour photographer, that's sort of the dream, or was it like I didn't even think of this as sort of like a viable full-time gig?
Yeah, I mean it is like my dream job. I just never really thought of it because at that time, especially when I started, like bands weren't really touring with photographers anymore. Like that was the thing that they did like back in the day. But then with social media and like this need for content started, all these bands started touring with photographers again.
Yeah, it really has changed a lot. And you were saying that like the Killers, because of the time they came up in when Instagram wasn't a thing, and then they kind of weren't operational like from like as much from like 2014 to 2016 when Instagram was really taking off.
Yeah.
They hadn't really thought about that part of their business. Yeah. And then they probably were like, okay, actually, we do need to sort of think about this a little bit. You kind of encouraged that a little bit to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, bringing me on, because they were touring with someone for a while, in the beginning. Not like this, well, I don't know exactly when, but they were touring with someone for a while. But yeah, now that they have all these photos, it just became like a thing that they were going to post, pictures from every show. And But we do hold on to a lot of photos. And that's a thing where a lot of times I want to get my best stuff out there and like the things that are going to be most interesting, of course. But like back in the day, like you wouldn't see like this stream of content from your favorite band like every day, like now. So we do hold on to a lot of things, which, like I said, it's sort of annoying at times. But then like I just put out like the photo you were saying, like when we're on the plane. Like like the reaction was amazing because, they're sort of like weren't doing anything like for that month or two, and all of a sudden we dropped this like pretty cool photo, if I may say so, and the fans like freak out. So like there's like this one set of photos that I have from last summer, and the photos are amazing. Like when we put them out, like people are gonna freak, and awesome. Like that's fun. Like it may be in like 10 years, like or maybe in a book, or like it's sort of like this back to the old school kind of way where like you kind of like starve the attention a little bit,
So when you do post, it's far more impactful.
Yeah. And like if you want to like sell them as prints, like it feels like more precious than like the photo that went up like 20 minutes after the show.
Okay, what's your favorite Arkells moment?
Let's get back to Max. Favorite Arkells moment?
From the tour.
So I've shot you guys at Pemberton, 2 shows in New York, which I think a little bit contributes to how we kind of stayed in touch. The Webster Hall and then the Frank Turner show. But from that tour...
you had a beautiful print of the Scotiabank Arena show.
Yeah,
with like all the
lights
in there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Man, favorite moment. See, this is when I need to have my notes, so then I could just like bang it out. I mean, honestly, like was the overall like seeing you. I think the Scotiabank night in general was like. I mean, you guys like conquered that shit. Like, and it was like moving for me. Like as I've become close with you guys. I was like I felt like a proud parent. I was like so happy. I mean, you guys sold it out. The show was incredible. Yes, I don't know. Maybe that was my favorite moment. Maybe
good.
That was a great night. I saw you after that.
Yes, you did.
Because was that the stretch where you shot Matt from Cage the Elephant?
Yeah.
It was in that sort of stretch. It was nice. But yeah, that was a really fun one.
Rob Loud coming to the Junos was the best.
Oh, great.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, that was the best.
Yeah, what was that?
Basically, because we had a gig in Detroit. So basically, we were on an American leg of the tour, which Rob was on, but then we had to pop back into Canada. And Rob was like, I'm coming to the Junos. And basically, and we're going to post this video, but basically Rob rented himself a car to drive from Detroit to London, Ontario. And we'll post the video, and it's the fucking best. Just to give you a sense of what Rob Loud's all about.
Well, there was one day where I was like sort of the fake tour manager, and I happened to be wearing these like really, they're kind of like cool again glasses, like these like really thin Oakley kind of glasses that my friend accidentally left in a jacket that he borrowed.
Yeah.
They were like his grandfather's or something. And so I was wearing them that day, and it became like my tour manager glasses. So when I'm wearing them, I'm the tour manager. So I'm driving to the Junos wearing these glasses, and I'm like pumped up and fired up, and since the group.
Junos, we're gonna take this. Let's go, boys.
Yeah.
he was drinking a Tim Hortons cup. It was very
I was
good.
drinking Tim Hortons.
You obviously shoot with the Arkells,
Yeah.
shoot the Killers, which feels like more of a full-time thing. Are you looking to sort of do all sorts of bands in your off time, or is it like I'm going to stick with this Killers gig until?
Yeah, it's weird because like I wonder, like, do people think like the Killers own me? Like I wonder if like I don't get calls because they're like, well, he's with the Killers, and like we, probably can't afford him or whatever it is, which I get. So I try to promote myself as someone who shoots all bands, of all sizes, and sometimes it's for free. I mean, if it's something I believe in or something I like, I mean, I want to get paid, and that's the goal. But like, I'll go out and like do something, if I think it's
Just 'cause it's a
going
good
to build a
time,
relationship or whatever it is. I mean, that's, like anything, everything's about, the rapport and building relationships. So yeah, I mean, do I want to tour forever? I'm not sure. Like right now, like I love it. It kind of fits my personality. But do I want to do it like forever? Do I need to settle down? Well, probably. But So if I had an offer to do another tour and like my schedule worked, I would for sure do it.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. Was there anything good in that anecdote list you looked at?
Yeah, give us one more before we wrap this up.
Well, let's see. Well, the one thing is like, we come I was starting to say like the Prince Harry thing, but like we do come across like a lot of like interesting people. Like, at Glastonbury, like I look over the side of the stage and David Beckham is standing there. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's chill.
Yeah.
Like we did Elton John's. We did because, I play. I took photos of them playing with Elton John at Elton John's Grammy or Oscars party in L.A. Like that was surreal. Like they played Daniel together. I'm like walking in for like the sound check for that, where like Elton's just like sitting there in his like awesome tracksuit. Okay, like let's run through the song. He gets up on his piano, like they just rip through Daniel. But one of my sort of favorite stories, and he's come up a few times, is Liam Gallagher. And there's one time
Liam Gallagher.
Liam Gallagher,
Love
yeah.
a Gallagher story.
He is everything you would hope he is from the limited experience I've had with him. But Brandon and I were flying to a gig. I went off with him to do something else, and so it was just him and I at the airport. And Liam is in front of us at like the check-in desk, and he's like, Liam turns around. He's like, oh man, we were just listening to the new single in the car. When you were young, he's like, that's my shit. That's my shit, pretty much. We're like, so I don't know if like what he meant by it, or if it was just like a sort of funny interaction. But they had met before, and like obviously like Brandon is a huge Oasis fan. But and then like that sort of stretch, we just kept running into him. Like they had like kind of in the same festival schedule. And then he ended up crashing the stage twice. And once, the only time I've seen this is a fan like crash the stage and like scared the shit out of Brandon. Like he wasn't even looking, and so all of a sudden this guy is there. So he was, pretty startled. And then like a song later, I think it was during When You Were Young, Liam just strolls out on stage. And like he doesn't really do anything. He just kind of like strolls out, puts his arm around Brandon, and then like kind of strolls off the stage. It was hilarious. And then he did it a second time, same. He just actually the Killers covered like an Oasis song that night, kind of rarity. I mean, it would be like very obvious if he did like Champagne Supernova or something, but it was a little more of like a rarity or a deeper cut. And he crashed the stage again, and like the fans like obviously like freaking out because like Liam is just he's Liam,
Yeah.
And then we ended up hanging out with him that night, and like I said, he's just like.
How is he as a hang? Is he just like is he abrasive? Is he charming?
He's charming as hell, man.
Yeah.
He's so charming, yeah, and like. Just then that accent too, and like it's just
Yeah.
like it's definitely nothing is an act. I don't think with that guy.
It's all authentic.
Everything is authentic,
Yeah.
and just with him and a couple of his crew, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Erica, did you want to ask Rob anything?
Yeah. Well, I'm really blown away. I didn't know too much about you actually before we sat down. I knew obviously what you did and like who you worked with, but wow, I could sit here all night. Just listen
What's
to
your
talk.
question?
Well, okay, I'm also a freelancer.
I was like, are you gonna get to it?
Sorry. But you've been freelancing for so long.
Yeah.
Any advice? Also, like how would you like? I'm at no point in my career where I would ever say no to a job.
Right.
How do you say no, and how do you ask for more money?
Well, I think
should we be expecting any questions from you?
yeah. Well, I mean, I think with my gig in particular, especially because there's so many photographers now. I mean, even from when I started, everyone was saying that, but now it's like really extreme.
Yeah.
So people are always asking, like, how do I get into this? And it's like there's no direct route to get there. So someone asked me this the other day. I did like when I was like Instagram, like asked me a question, and someone said, "How do you become go on tour?" And my reply was a picture of a maze. Like, there's no answer. So, how do you ask for more? Well, the money thing, I could tell like a client that's not really familiar with like what goes into it, I like to really break things down and like kind of a line item why this costs so much instead of just being like, here's your price.
Right.
If they're like, that's way too much money, I feel like I maybe educated them. And so maybe the person they are going to hire is going to get, more than what they would have.
You'll break down the work and go to justify what your quote is.
Yeah, and so like worst case scenario for me, I'm like, at least I educated them. So now they understand that it's like, that I actually have to pay for my equipment, and I have years of experience, and it's a business.
The time spent editing.
Yeah, and it's not just some guy that just shows up with a camera and snaps a few photos and then like calls it a day.
Do you still get that a lot? Like people think that?
Yeah, kind of, especially. Because a lot of people that need content, like they never really worked with a photographer, and I do some video stuff. So the video world, that's a whole nother beast. Like that's there's a lot of things to be learned about that on the client side. So yeah, I definitely still get it because like I said, I think they just think you just show up with a camera and snap a couple photos.
Yeah.
It's like there's an expression like I always butcher it, but basically like you're not paying a mechanic like for the maybe it takes him 5 minutes to fix something.
Yeah.
You're paying him to know which screw to turn, not for like the time, basically. So a lot of times the client will come back and be like, yeah, okay, we like hired like some kid right out of school who charged a fraction of what you were charging, and now we need to redo it and spend more money than what if we just hired you in the first place.
And do you say no to work?
Yeah, I do.
Why?
I mean, if it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
Also like I've done a lot of kind of jobs where I'm like, I just can't anymore. I feel like I put my time in, so like maybe it's just not worth it. And like if there's not going to be like a good return, then it's kind of like why bother? Especially if it's like I said, like I'll work for free, like say with a young band.
If it's a cool gig. If you believe in it.
And I'm like, and I think this will lead to more things in building a relationship. Then I'll do it. But if it's something where I'm like, is this going to be this one-off thing? And if they start wanting to hire me more, then I got to like keep doing these jobs I don't want to do. In the beginning, I never said no. And that's how I got into it because like an assignment editor from Getty would call and say, are you available? I'm like, of course I'm available. What am I doing? I'm just waiting for you to call me. So they're like, I'm like, cool. Like when does it start? And they're like, oh, well, it started like 20 minutes ago. And at the time I live in Brooklyn, but I lived in Manhattan at the time. So it's usually like, within like 15 minutes, I can kind of be anywhere. So I would just jump into the gig and,
I feel like another thing you're really good at, Rob, and you're good at too, Erica, is just like learning the rhythms of the people that you work with, which is sort of a skill in itself. And some people come by it very naturally and some people don't get it at all and they need to work on it a lot. But it's just like, Rob, from working with like Ash and I, like that we like to see the photos immediately. We want them in a Dropbox. It's like you have to be pretty quick on the trigger, and like I'm sure each client has their own set of sort of wants. And Erica too, with working with the pod, like the more you work with someone, the better the shorthand becomes when it comes to just the conversations. But I think that's like another one when it comes to just the kind of developing relationships with the clients. It's like how quickly can you understand what their desires are, and how do you accommodate that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I know some creatives are like very particular, and like it's like my way or the highway. But like the way I see it, it's like they're hiring me, so like I want to give them what they want and what they need. Yeah. Like, why not? I mean, they're paying me money to like perform a task. So like, although it's like photography is an art, so there's a lot of artists, air quotes, artists. I guess I have a little more of like a blue collar mentality about it.
Which I think makes you really good about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I should like take myself more seriously as an artist. But I don't know.
I think you can do both, though. I think you can be like workman-like and blue-collary about your craft, and that like, no, I'm gonna go do it every single day, and I'm gonna like be good to the people I'm working with, and that is gonna actually like help I don't know, my own sense of creativity in
Yeah.
some way.
Also, you can't. Shane says this a lot. You can't be who you're not. If you're
Right.
not a pretentious person, you can't put on an air of pretension to sort of like up your value as an artist. If you are a guy that, like you said, you're a little more blue collar and you approach it a certain way, it's like you got to be authentic to who you are. Otherwise,
Right.
it's not going to feel real anyway. You
Yeah,
know?
and I mean, like I went to school for computer science, and so I think like I find like people who go to art school maybe come out with a little bit more of a sense of entitlement or sort of like this, again, artist mentality where it kind of stunts them. Like where in the beginning I would say yes to everything. Where some people would be like, oh, that's like below me. Well, it's like, well, you're 22 and you just graduated. Like you don't know anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think learning on the fly, like I did, helped a lot because I kind of saw what the potential of like being a freelancer, working for myself, kind of having it was the schedule and the lifestyle. And I don't mean like like rock and roll party lifestyle, just like the lifestyle of being self-employed was more appealing to me than being a photographer or like my love of photography. It was just like I took one class in college, I remember, and my professor was like, "You're pretty good, like especially if you would leave the parking lot of your apartment." Day of the day of the assignment, I'd like walk around like take pictures of like leaves and like like shadows and shit. Like well, at least he like has an eye and like kind of knows what he's doing. But
All right. Well, when are we going to party again? When you
Tonight,
back in town?
right now. Let's do it right now.
What? You come on, man. We went hard at Ash's last night. Ash, what
Hair
was
the
that
dog,
look?
bro.
Are we partying
yeah,
again?
hair of dog.
It's Rob's last time.
Are you going for it again tonight?
I mean,
He has to do something.
I mean,
Okay, I have to go pee really bad. So let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on, Rob.
thank you.
Appreciate
guys.
it.
Yeah.